Of course, I knew about Arsenal before I arrived. Everybody knows how special this club is.
Even though I arrived here as a world champion, I was nobody.
I've seen incredible players,
If you just put yourself first, then you're wrong.
passionate players,
I'll be trying to win it. I don't see any other way.
invincible players.
It was all about playing 100% for my club.
I dream of being one of them amongst the best and staying in the hearts of the fans forever. I want to become an Arsenal legend, just like Cherry, Wrighty, Adams and Beckham, too many to mention.
And it's Adams, put through by Ball! Fabulous goal from Henry! Would you believe it? Oh, that's sensational! The yes!
My dad is my biggest inspiration, and he was captain of his club and his country. So it means so much to me to be the captain of this special club. I want to leave a legacy. This is where I belong. This is my family.
Hello, I'm Richard and welcome to my channel over and over and over again, which features everything to do with Arsenal. This tonight is actually my first live podcast that I'm hosting. I'm going to call it the Positive Arsenal Podcast because I want to try to be as positive as we can going into a new season where at the end of the day we're 0 points off the top at the moment, which is great, but also we're 0 points off the bottom as well, but we won't worry too much about that. I've got some lovely guests with me tonight to join me as well, so we can sort of look forward to the start of the new season. We'll start with Alex. If you'd like to, where can people find you on social media, Alex?
Cheers for having me on, Rich. You can find me on For the Arsenal on YouTube and on social media. I'm on Twitter, and that's For the Arsenal _. Pleasure to be on here.
No, thanks for coming on. It's good to have you on. I've also got Andrew. Where can people find you, Andrew?
On YouTube, From Dial Square to Where, and as it says, well, for those listening in audio, maybe afterwards, it's at From Dial Square on Twitter. Thanks for having me on, Richard. It's a pleasure.
No, it's always great to chat to you, mate. No problem at all. And finally, we've got James as well. James, where can people find you?
People can find me on @JamesRoweNL, not just tweeting about opinions regarding the Arsenal, but also my interviews with professional players and managers. My latest interview with Chris Bart-Williams was released earlier on this evening.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out them, please check them out because they're really, really good, actually. I've read most of them and they're excellent. So it's a pleasure to have all you guys with me tonight. Just quickly, my channel, I'm almost at 100 subscribers now. So let's hope we can get it up to 100 while the show's on. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and give it a thumbs up as well if you like what we're doing. So obviously, we've got the new season, haven't we, starting this weekend. Less than 48 hours' time, actually, we'll know exactly how we've started. We're away at Fulham, of course. Just really want to get your guys' sort of thoughts, really, on that first game against Fulham. What are you kind of anticipating? Obviously, newly promoted side, they won the playoffs. So what are we kind of expecting? Alex, if you go first, what are you sort of expecting on Saturday from the game?
I think it's probably the first season ever where you literally can't predict anything that's going to happen because there's so many different factors that will influence different results. I actually think this is going to be the hardest Premier League season ever for the fact that top 10 is so competitive. And I think the teams who have come into the league, Leeds, West Brom, I think they're both good sides. And as well as Fulham, we'll see how good they are on Saturday. I think with the lack of transfers teams have done, they possibly could hit the ground running a lot quicker than they normally would. Most teams have done very little business. And in terms of Arsenal Fulham, I think we've always struggled with newly promoted sides, especially early in the season. And I think this could be a much better opportunity for us without the fans and things like that. We're not really a very good away side, but who knows? I think we will get the 3 points Saturday, but I think it's going to be a really tricky game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Andrew, what are your thoughts about the Fulham game? How do you sort of see that panning out?
I mean, we're historically not very good on the opening day, are we? I mean, we've had a few really bad results. I mean, I can remember losing 4-3 to Liverpool about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember losing 3-1 to Villa. West Ham, I think, beat us 2-1 one year recently. But we've also, had some good results then. I mean, I can remember a 6-1 against Everton as well, which weren't too that long ago. That was incredible. But I really, really think that we've got a different manager than we've had now for quite a few years, and I think he's going to get us absolutely ready for this match. And I can see a decent win. I'm very, very confident we'll win, and I think we'll win 3-0. I've got a couple of
positive. That's good. That's what I like to hear.
I've got I've got an idea what Mikel Arteta will pick as a team, but I've also got my own ideas. But we can go on to that in a bit if you like.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was going to come to that anyway. I mean, James, how do you see it panning out for us on Saturday against Fulham?
I actually think it'll be a draw on the opening day.
That's not positive enough, mate. That's not positive enough. I'm sorry.
I'm just being honest. I think a lot of people are glossing over the fact that Scott Parker's done a great job at Fulham. He's done really, really well to get him up. I spoke to his former teammate Jonathan Fortune not so long ago, and he said that even when he was captain, even when he was playing, he had those managerial traits about him on the pitch in terms of looking after players and making sure that they're conditioned and that they know that people are there for them. And I just think there's something about Scott Parker. And if we were playing at home, I'd be down for the 3 points. But I think because it's away and it's the opening day, and obviously our pre-season hasn't been great, obviously losing to Villa behind closed doors as well, these things do add up, and some can be caught cold. So I think in this particular instance, I think it'll be a score draw.
So you're going to be cautious. That's fine. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's going to be difficult to predict. I think, as Alex said before, it's been a weird pre-season. I'm not really sure. Yep. Some teams are going to be maybe a little bit further down the line than others, and you might see a few strange results. So a draw wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility. I mean, going on to sort of the sort of starting lineup, if we do it in sort of two parts, really, I mean, what would be your choice of the starting lineup, and what do you think Arteta will do? If we start with Andrew, because obviously Andrew did touch on that just a minute ago, what would be your choice, Andrew, to start the game?
I would personally not throw caution to the wind, but I would really go for it personally, and I would play 4 at the back, and I would have a 4-3-3. We've had the unlucky news about David Luiz possibly missing the first month of the season, which is a blow.
Yeah, it is.
But I would go with Emmy in goal. I really hope we don't sell Emmy. I'd like to see him stay. I think the person who is currently in the position should stay in that position, because it sends out the wrong message otherwise to the rest of the team. It says to especially the youngsters, if they come in and play out their skin and do extremely well, then no matter what they do, they'll get replaced anyway when the more senior player comes back. So I really think that if you get put into the team in much the same way that Bellerin did when Debussy got injured, that if you play well enough, you should keep your place. And what more could Emi Martinez do to keep his place? So it may not be number one. He may not be seen as the number one, but he should still keep his place because he's done nothing wrong. Quite the opposite, as we all know. But I'll play back 4 of Bellerin, and I'll go with Saliba and Holding, purely because I don't think Gabriel's even had a training match yet as well. So I think he's going to be short. And I'd have Tierney at left back, and I'll go Ceballos, Xhaka and Saka on the left side of a midfield, with Pepe on the right, either Lacazette or Eddie. I'd be quite happy with either in the middle, and Aubameyang on the left. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do. I mean, do you want me to say what I think that Arteta will do?
What do you think Arteta? Because I mean, I think that formation might not be what Arteta's going to do. Possibly.
No, I don't think so. I think this is what I think. Arteta will still keep the 3 at the back. I think. I'm hoping that he will go for it with Emi in goal. I think we'll see Saliba, Holding, and Tierney as a back 3. I think Bellerin will be on the right and Maitland-Niles on the left, with Ceballos and Xhaka in the middle, and then Pepe, again, Nketiah or Laka in the middle and Aubameyang up front. So I think he will keep to the same tried and trusted formation that served him so well at the end of last season. But the reason I would do something different is that these Fulham are, regardless of what we said, and I agree with you, James. I don't think I'm quite as positive about Scott Parker as a manager as you are. I think there was quite a large portions of last season that he really underperformed, or the team really underperformed, but they got there, so you can't knock the guy. But I would very much like to really go for the throat in the first to try and make, I don't know, we've been poor against the lower half of the lower teams in the Premier League, and we really need to make a statement, and we really need to go for it, and we need to break these teams down. And we're not going to do that, I don't think, with the formation that we were playing so well at the end of last season. We saw ourselves struggle against the likes of Brighton and Villa. I think we need to try something different. And I think that what I suggested earlier with regards to a midfield three of Ceballos, Xhaka and Saka, I think if Xhaka can drop back a little bit deeper to maybe sort of protect the back four. But if we play it right, with the players we've got, like Ceballos can come a bit more forward to help unlock that defence. Saka, exactly the same. With Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang or Nketiah, we've got the power to unlock that defence. And let's face it, they're going to be a little bit nervous. I'm sure they're going to go into the match very confident and happy and really up for it because they're back in the Premier League. But at the end of the day, if we actually start going for them, they're going to be rattled and they're going to start getting a bit nervous. And I think that setup would have the wherewithal and the keys to unlock that defence. And I think we could actually have a really good performance against them.
That's an interesting idea, actually, because, I mean, it's completely against what Arteta's been doing, isn't it? But
yeah.
What do you think, Alex? What would be your choice for the starting team, first of all?
My choice is basically what I think is going to happen anyway. And the reason I think that it is similar to Arteta with a back five or back three, whichever way you want to look at it, is getting results. And I think a lot has been made from, especially rival fans, that it's negative football. But when I've been watching it, I've never found it boring. There was games under Unai Emery where I literally turned it off after like 40 minutes, and I've never once felt like that in an Arteta game, even if we've had less possession or things like that. So I think it's going to be I think Leno's going to come in goal. Sorry, I agree that Martinez shouldn't be dropped, but I just have a feeling that Leno is going to be our number one this season, and the fact that the rumours are around his possible transfer kind of basically reaffirms that. I think he's going to be in goals. I think it's going to be Bellerin on the right-hand side as a wing-back. I think it's going to be Rob Holding, Gabriel and Kieran Tierney at the back. I don't think there's a rush to play William Saliba. I know Gabriel is a little bit short, but the one position you could probably get away with it fitness-wise is as a centre-back, especially in a three. So I think Gabriel is going to be given the nod. I think Maitland-Niles is going to play off the left-hand side, as he has done. Very similar to the Liverpool game. I actually would have been unchanged in our back line from the Liverpool game if David Luiz hadn't got injured. I think Ceballos is going to come in for El Neni in that game with Xhaka, formed a brilliant partnership. And I think Saka and Eddie are going to be the right hand up front because Pepe's not really played much. Saka's played for the under-21s as well as Eddie. I think they're both going to be much closer to full fitness. And, of course, Aubameyang, who's probably the first name on the team sheet. That's my lineup.
Yeah, no, I kind of think that probably won't be far off. I mean, I'm not sure whether Gabriel, I think that's the only doubt I would have on that, maybe, depending on his fitness, I guess, whether he'll get selected, possibly. That would be a good choice. It'd be nice to see him play. I mean, James, what do you think, what would be your kind of starting 11?
Well, I think match fitness will play a key role, but I just wanted to elaborate on what Andrew said about Martinez. We look so much assured with him in goal. Even as a defence, we look so much assured. I mean, in that cup final and in that Charity Shield game, there was an air of confidence that, as an Arsenal fan, I hadn't had for ages, in terms of our back line and our goalkeeper between the sticks, and that's where it starts. You know, I mean, we paid a lot of money for Leno, but you know, I would argue that if it was Martinez, if Martinez wasn't in goal for the FA Cup semi-finals and final and Charity Shield, we might not have won them. You know, and he gives a great air of confidence, and to go changing that now for a new season when we're looking to build, it kind of really sets the tone. So I really, really hope that Arteta sticks with Martinez. I think it's very interesting that Ceballos is back on loan. I think that pivot with Xhaka could bring us success this season. I hope Saka gets a run of games, you know, in his natural position to really bring his confidence up. And it's really about getting off to the season in the best possible start, you know, making sure that team we send out is the one that's full of confidence. Match fitness is also going to play a key role. I'm interested to see about Saliba as well, because obviously with his experience at St Etienne, you know, a lot of people like to kind of badmouth the French league, but when you've got a league of the likes of Monaco, Marseille, Lyon, Paris Saint-Germain, Rennes are an excellent side as well. You know, it's not a farmers' league that everybody makes out. So I think his experience will be key. But just a nucleus on Saturday of a good starting lineup to hopefully get us those 3 points to start the season. Really.
Yeah, I mean,
just brought up. Sorry, can I just say one more thing as well about Bernd Leno? When people are out of the team, they all of a sudden become better than they sometimes are, if you know what I mean. I've just recently found a tweet which was from last Christmas, and it said that this is from Opta. Bernd Leno has made 7 errors directly leading to an opposition goal in the Premier League, the most of any player in all of the divisions. And I know we were awful then. I know that. I'm not saying I don't like Bernd Leno. I'm not saying that at all. I actually really like Bernd Leno and I rate him. I don't want us to get rid of him. Let's point that out straight away. But it's not that he's been without mistakes, and I know that we had Unai Emery at the time. So that's very much got to be taken into account. But he has made more mistakes, especially the one against Chelsea, where he completely made a gaffe. It went over his head and led to their goal, obviously, and did lose us the game. I do agree completely with James. Emilio Martinez is so much more confident. I've got so much more confidence in him dealing with crosses and the way that he actually catches the ball. You know, even when he's making sort of virtually point blank saves and coming for crosses, he never lets it go. And that is just so reassuring for the defence. And that, when we're talking about blooding in Saliba and Gabriel, that's going to mean the world to them. It's going to be so much more confidence in them having a goalkeeper that can actually catch the ball and command the area with so much more authority than I believe that Leno does. So anyway, I just wanted to make that point. People can't forget that he has actually made mistakes as well, Leno. He's not the world class. He's not a superhero that everyone is suddenly thinking that he is, because he bailed us out so many times, and he was the second best player, voted the second best player of the season for a reason. But he's not without his errors. So let's just not forget that as well.
No, I mean, I agree. I think it's quite a difficult decision. And I actually feel that whoever starts in goal on Saturday is Arteta's first choice for the season, for the Premier League, certainly. So it'll be interesting to see who he does go with. I mean, personally, I think he will go with Leno. I agree with Alex. I think that's what he'll do. Whether he should or not, I don't know. But I do think that Leno is going to be his number one goalkeeper, certainly for the Premier League this season. But we'll see. I mean, I do feel there's a bit of unsettling around Martinez, isn't it, at the minute with transfer and stuff. So that might come into his mind as well. Arteta might think, is Leno more focused? Martinez is more thinking about a move. We don't know, do we? So I think that could come into it. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what he goes with. I'm quite surprised that nobody's actually thinks Willian might get a start on Saturday.
I think he'll be on the bench. I think he'll come off the bench, definitely. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him start. And I would actually welcome that. I'd love to see him play, because I think he's a much, much better signing than anyone's giving him credit for, personally. So, yeah, I would not be unhappy with that in the slightest.
I think away from home as well, I think he's going to be crucial to be able to create chances. Certainly teams that are going to sit back on us, like Fulham probably will. He could be a type player to break them down maybe. But, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, you know, the starting lineup is always eagerly anticipated time, isn't it? I always look forward to seeing what it's going to be because you can never read.
What's your choice? What's your choice, Rich?
I mean, I would go with the three at the back just because that's what's worked. I think the only thing that he might change it for is because David Luiz isn't there. I think he's key to the three at the back, isn't he? Because he's the leader. And I think without him, we haven't really got anybody to lead at the back. But I still think he'll go with that system because I think it's a system that's worked. So he'd probably play Holding in the centre. The possibility that maybe Saliba might play, seeing as he did play in one of the friendlies earlier on, and maybe Tierney on the left. I'm not sure if Gabriel's quite ready yet. We'll see. Oh, we've lost James for a minute.
Did anyone know what state Pablo Mari's in as well? Because I've seen a tweet of him today saying he's all ready and all, you know, he's got a kit on. Because he was due to come back to full training in September. I mean, I don't know how far off he is though.
The last thing I read was he was back in full training end of September. So usually, usually it's like 4 to 6 weeks then, isn't it? Full fitness.
Oh, that's fair enough. I just wonder because I think he's going to play a lot more than people realise as well. Yeah. I do like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably be a good one for later on in the season. I think got options at the back now, haven't we? I mean, in terms of the midfield, I think it'll be Ceballos and Jacob in the middle. I think the wing backs, I think, will be Bellerin and Maitland-Niles, just because that's what he's stuck with most of the end of last season. And the front three could be interesting. Obviously, Aubameyang will definitely be on the left. I agree, and Nketiah will probably start because he's going to be fresher because of the under-21 games. His confidence is high. He scored a lot of goals for them. And then who's going to be on the right-hand side? Saka plays really well in the Community Shield. Is Pepe ready to start a game? We don't know. Is Willian? That's the choice I think he's going to have to make, maybe, who's going to play on the right-hand side of the front three. I personally would probably go with Saka, actually, just because I think he did really well in the Community Shield. And he's just obviously played for the England under-21s as well. So that's probably what I would do. But I'm not sure if Arteta will. I think if Willian's fit to play, I think he'll probably start him, actually. That would be my feeling in that position. But we'll see. I mean, you can never tell what Arteta's going to do until the team comes out. Quite often you look at it and scratch your head a little bit, and then the game starts and you think, oh, yeah, that's why he's done that. And it makes sense.
Well, you know, with regards to Willian, I've got my own theory on that, which I've thought from day one about after we signed him. So we can come on to that a bit further down when we do talk about the incomings and stuff.
Yeah, okay. I mean, what we move on to now is, I mean, obviously opening day of the season, I said at the beginning, for me, it's an exciting day because everybody starts level and, you know, it's a good, you can look forward to the season ahead before all the negativity started once you've lost a few games. I mean, obviously, I know we've all suffered a few sort of disappointing opening days, as Andrew did mention before. Just really want to maybe a few memories that you've got of possibly some of the opening days through the years, really, that you've maybe experienced yourself. I mean, James, you're back with us. You're frozen again. I think you might have frozen again. I mean, Alex, what was your
can you hear me? Can you see me okay?
We can see you. Yeah, we couldn't hear you. I don't know if you...
I was going to say, try it without the camera for a bit, see if that helps.
Okay. Yeah, can you still hear me okay? How's that?
That's better.
You back?
Yeah. Oh, we got
okay.
you back. Good.
Opening days. Yeah, sorry about technology, eh? And opening days in terms of many, many years. Andrew mentions the 6-1 win away to Everton. I think it was in 2009. I thought that was a really, really good opening day. And then you've got the other side of the coin. You know, first with losing to Aston Villa on the opening day at home, in a similar situation where the market wasn't finished and people were getting a little bit worried. And in recent years, we haven't started very well on the opening day. You know, I mean, I remember struggling to, I think it was a 1-0 win against West Brom in 2000. You know, thinking about the Emirates era. But, you know, no 2 seasons are the same. And it's also going to be strange without fans in the stadiums, you know, because it's something that people really look forward to, you know, to go in, planning in your games and what you want to do. And, you know, I come all the way to from the Netherlands for Arsenal matches these days. So it's a long trip. But, normally you're always booking flights and booking hotels and that kind of thing, and in the current climate I'm not, so it's a little bit strange. But the memories last a lifetime in terms of opening day, so be interesting to see what happens on Saturday.
Hopefully it'll be a good memory this year with a bit of luck. I mean, Alex, what sort of some of your memories from the opening day that you
a couple of memories I can remember. The first game at the Emirates, I think we drew 1-1 with Villa, late Gilberto goal. I think last season, even though we didn't play well, the 2 wins, I can't remember how long it's been since we'd done that. And we could have gone into that Liverpool game full of confidence and played without any pressure. That's the sort of a start we need again this year. I couldn't care less how we play in terms of our performance. Just the 3 points in these sort of games. The one that sticks out for me was the Leicester game. I can't remember. Was it the 4-3 where Lacazette opened the scoring? Yeah. I thought we'd found our Ian Wright. It hasn't really panned out like that for him, unfortunately. But I just think I couldn't care less how we play tomorrow. It's all about the 3 points for me. Not tomorrow, Saturday, sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the first game is getting a good start, especially I think for us this season, Arteta's first full season starting. I do think it's important that we do get off to a good start. And it's a difficult game away from home, whoever you play on the first game. So if we can win, I think that would be good. I mean, Andrew, I know you sort of mentioned a few before. I mean, what sort of memories stick out for you on the first day?
Yeah, I think the best memory I've got personally, it was when because I first started, because I've been supporting Arsenal since 1980, but not the season after the famous 89 season, obviously where we won the league. I started to go on my own. So I was just about turning 17 then. I was just 16, turning 17, and I just started sort of travelling to the game with one of my mates and stuff, and I really started feeling like I was one of the big lads, and I was going on my own and all this sort of stuff. I was a proper gooner standing on the North Bank, and I remember the season after the 89 one. It was away at Wimbledon, and I remember the ground is so. Oh, it's awful. The ground is just horrific, and literally, you're standing on this concrete. There was no stand, and there was just weeds growing up in between your feet and that sort of stuff. And I remember going there. I remember, funnily enough, going to a Boxing Day match there as well, and it was the most freezing cold, dour game as well I've ever seen, and. Thinking, what the hell am I doing with my life? It was like one of those fever pitch moments, where you're just standing there, and I had sort of snow blowing into your face and horizontally because of the wind. Anyway, this one was particularly exciting because it was away, and we won 3-0, and because we'd just won the league the season before, I just had that feeling again that it was just going to be all the same again. Because I was so young, I just thought this is how it's always going to be then, and I thought, I just thought there's no stopping us. We've won the league with the champions, and we won the opening game 3-0, and I just thought that this is it. We're the best team in the world, nothing's going to stop us ever. Obviously, it didn't quite work out that particular season, but I was just so excited, and I just wish every opening day I had that feeling, again. But there's nothing like it, is there? When a new season starts and everyone's starting from the same point, and that's what we love about football. And you'd never do anything other than be the most optimistic person in the world about your club, will you? You always think this could be their season.
Yeah, you do. And unfortunately with Arsenal, if you think like that, you may be called deluded and stuff like that. But every single season, the first game of the season, I'm convinced we're going to win the league. I'm convinced we're going to win the FA Cup. I'm convinced we're going to win everything. And then 3 or 4 games into the season, I'm convinced we're going to get relegated usually. So
don't you get that different feeling though this season? This season though, I feel more excited than since the early days of Wenger.
I mean, last season I just wasn't excited about it at all, just because the way we the season before, Emery filled me with no excitement at all. So, in the end, the season finished a lot better than it began for me, definitely. And hopefully this season, like you said, I mean, with Arteta in charge, I do feel that we can be optimistic finally, and that optimism, not to be deluded optimism as maybe I've had previously. I actually feel as though we've got a good reason to be optimistic for this season, because I think we've got a great chance to achieve something. I mean, we'll go on to it a little bit later on exactly how we think the season might go, but I'm feeling optimistic at this moment in time. And I mean, there's been so many good opening days, actually. I know recent years haven't been too good, because we have had a poor record, actually, in recent years on the opening day in terms of results, certainly. I mean, the Everton one was a great one, wasn't it? That 6-1 was unbelievable. I think that's been our highest ever opening day win in the history of the club, actually. I mean, I was with my son that day when we went. That was brilliant, that. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen very often. Obviously recent years, but yeah, I can remember the Wimbledon one. I remember the other Wimbledon one, the start of the season in '89 when Alan Smith scored a hat-trick. That was a great opening day, that was as well. I don't think anyone's ever scored a hat-trick on the opening day before. Well, I'm aware.
Yeah,
of.
exactly. Oh,
So
underrated striker he was.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Yeah, so I mean that was a great opening day as well. But yeah, I mean the Wimbledon ground was terrible, wasn't it? That terrace behind the goal.
It was horrendous. But yeah,
right at the back, I could hardly see, and it was just. But we won 5.
You know how I feel though at the moment. I feel like a kid again when it comes to the new season because of having this manager in charge of our club. And the thing is, I feel like it sounds a bit strange, but you know, like a lot of people nowadays forget that football existed before the Premier League started. You know, it's all about the Premier League now, and everything that happened before didn't happen. It doesn't matter anymore. But the way I feel now about Arsenal in a similar sort of way is that people are going on about, we don't normally do well there, we don't normally do blah, blah, blah. I feel a bit like that, like the Premier League. It doesn't matter now because we've got a manager in charge of our club and a lot of people rate him. A lot of people think, he's great. But I still think they're underrated him. I think he's better than a lot of people think. And I think that whatever happened before, that doesn't matter anymore because we've got a new beginning, you know, and that's the way I feel. I can't help it. I think I can see stuff that he is doing tactically on that pitch, but more importantly, what he can do with the players in their head, you know, to get them into a team that was heading towards the drop in November, December, turning them around. Yes, our results weren't, you know, title-winning sort of results since he came in, but the turnaround is absolutely phenomenal. And what I see in him as a coach just fills me full of hope and expectation. And I think we're going to do a lot better than people think next year. I really do. Even with even with the squad as is. But I still think we're going to add a couple. But even as is, I still think we're going to do really well next year. And we're going to be very, very much hard to beat.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I mean, if we move on to sort of the transfer window, because, you know, I think it's been a little bit frustrating, hasn't it, Adam, so far? A few players we've been rumoured in buying and getting in, and it hasn't happened. A few rumoured to be going out, and it hasn't happened. And we seem to be not really done an awful lot, whereas some clubs obviously have done quite a lot of business already. So it has been frustrating. I mean, how do you feel about the transfer windows, Alex? If we start with you on this one, what do you feel about the transfer window so far that we've done? Obviously, bearing in mind we've still got another 3 or 4 weeks to go.
I think so far, Willian, Gabriel, Mari, Cedric. I mean, I think that's the bare minimum that we needed, especially with Gabriel. We definitely needed a centre-half, and I wasn't sure if we were going to buy one because of how many personnel we have in that position. So I'm really glad that we added him, and obviously Saliba joins, of course. I just think in the midfield area, we're one injury to Xhaka or Ceballos away from disaster at the moment, and we have to address that. We have to, because history's shown we can't really rely on Ozil and Guendouzi. Who knows where their minds are? We have to bring in someone, at least one. That's my thought on the window. I think all the rest of the positions we're looking okay. Obviously, goalkeeping is probably the strongest we've been in decades. I think at right back, if Bellerin stays, we've got Cedric, we've got Maitland-Niles. If he stays, I can cover there. Left back, you've got Tierney, Saka, Maitland-Niles as well. On the wings is probably our strongest area, and up front we've got Eddie and Lacazette. So I think the only position really, I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but in terms of getting in that top four, I think we're a couple of midfielders away still, and that's what worries me.
Yeah, no, I agree. James, what have you made of it so far with the business that we've done and the business that we potentially still might do? I know there's still a few weeks left, as I said.
I think we've missed a trick. I was advocating before the season ended that before spending any money, go through the youth academy and the players that are good enough, bring them into the first team squad. Well, obviously, we're in a worldwide pandemic where countries are struggling, clubs are struggling, people are struggling to get by. We've always profited from our youth academy. Regardless of your Arsenal generation, your formative years as a Gooner, we've always had great players come through the youth academy. And you take Daniel Ballard, for example. Daniel Ballard played international football for Northern Ireland the other night. But apparently, according to some Arsenal fans, he's not good enough to play for Arsenal. But yet he's good enough to play international football. So therein lies your problem. I still think a lot of Arsenal fans, particularly at social media, rather than looking at the character of a player, they want to judge a player on his price tag. Oh, he's only worth £15 million. He must be rubbish. But look at the previous and look at what's gone before. I'm in a privileged position where I interview professional players and managers on a regular basis. And I've spoken to many, many players who have been signed by one manager at one club, not got a game, and had to move on in order to kickstart their career again. Timing in football is everything. You might sign for a club and you might think everything is dandy, and you managerial change. A manager might not play with wingers, for example. And I just think that before spending the money, especially for Gabriel, we already had 11 defenders. And that's without Ballard and McGuinness. I mean, obviously, maybe for me it's a little bit different being based in Amsterdam and watching firsthand what Ajax do with a youth academy, where De Ligt was playing first-team football and European football at the age of 17. He's obviously now playing for Juventus. But if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think going forward, what we've got to do is start to build a spine. And where, the nucleus of 6 or 7 players who are going to play. I mean, I know times have changed and people have changed, but the Arsenal in the early 90s, people could literally reel off the starting 11 every single game. As I say, I know football has changed. But I just think, you take Zach Medley, for example. Zach Medley played European football for Arsenal, was on the bench for Premier League games, and now he's on loan at Gillingham. What must be going through his head? That 1 minute as a young defender, you're playing European football, you're in contention to play Premier League games, and now you are on loan at Gillingham. And these are the types of things that Arsenal fans, especially the younger generation, don't really seem to want to understand. You're never going to get it right all the time. But I just thought that we had an opportunity to find a really good mix this summer. And I just think that we kind of missed the trick at youth level. Because, we bring these players up. We give them the opportunity to train with Arsenal. I mean, I spoke to Charlie Gilmore, who left Arsenal as recently as last summer. And he went on, signed for Norwich and went on loan to Telstar. And when I spoke to him, he said to me that when you play for Arsenal at youth level, everything is handed to you on a plate. You get the best coaches, you get to travel the world. And naturally, when you leave the club, you think that people are queuing around the block for you. Not in an arrogant sense, but just, you've come through the youth setup at Arsenal, so you must be good. But obviously, at championship level, for example, in the case of Charlie Gilmore, and obviously with Norwich as well, they were Premier League, of course, but now Championship. They didn't want to take the chance on a young boy in a man's game. And I just look at Arsenal in terms of the bigger picture, and I just think we've missed a little bit of a trick. But as I say, that's just my personal opinion.
Can I come in there just for 1 second?
Yeah, I was going to come to you anyway. Yeah,
because I was going mad at the end of last season in the summer about us getting rid of Christian Bielik. I was desperate for him to get a chance. He did everything we possibly wanted him to do and came through it all with flying colours. And we were talking about going after these other young players from across Europe who were the same age as him. And we just binned him off for 10 million quid, and I feel I put a thread out on Twitter about, I think it's about 2 days ago, mentioning Kai Havertz and the fact that he made his debut. He's 21 now. He made his debut in 2016. Because a manager put their faith in him 100%, and look where he is now. You can expect a few inconsistencies in the first year or so, but if you're a fan of Arsenal, you support the players on the team. You don't go after a 17-year-old who has got bags and bags of talent. And I was talking about, I mentioned Kai Havertz, but what I was focusing on was Emile Smith-Rowe, who I believe in. I really, really believe in the kid. And he has got bags of talent and bags of potential. And people are saying he's too young at 20. Now, if you've got look at what's happening in the Bundesliga and in the French league at the moment, and how many young players are being nabbed at a really early age by teams in the Premier League. Why don't we play our own players? Like James was saying, Emile Smith-Rowe could well go on to be one of the best players in his position in Europe. But without getting games, we ain't going to get the chance to do that. And the same goes for Gabriel Martinelli. I mentioned that if we shoved him into the team, now, I mean, this was a while ago when we didn't know whether Aubameyang was going to stay or what. I said I'd be quite happy to play Martinelli, as long as we've got someone to rotate him with for every now and then so we don't get burned out. But I would be happy to put him in there because the guy has got the mentality as well as the talent. He is determined to be the best player in the world, Gabriel Martinelli, you can tell. But if he gets a good run in the team, he wouldn't let us down, I'm sure. I feel the same about Emile Smith-Rowe. Now, if he could actually get put into the team and have a run of games and actually get backed and not get berated if a pass goes astray or he misses an easy chance or whatever, and just let him get that experience in the Premier League, who knows where that kid could be. And you just need a manager who believes in them like they do in the Bundesliga. All these young, great, new, vibrant coaches coming through in the Bundesliga and actually giving these kids a chance. And look what's happening to them all. Everyone's saying we should follow the way that Borussia Dortmund do it, in the way that the mine's gone completely blank. The other team in the Champions League. Leipzig, sorry. Look at the amount of youngsters coming through there, but they are trusted, and they're trusted. And look what they're repaying that club over and over again, and then they sell them on for 100 million quid. But, they just need to have the belief and have that sort of trust and, in their managers, just to shove them in a team and just let them do what they can do best. And we don't do that enough.
I just think maybe the problem at the moment with Arsenal is that we've been on a bit of a downward trajectory, haven't we, over the last few years, dropping out of the Champions League and obviously finishing 8th last season in the Premier League. And is that the right time to throw some youngsters in when we need to?
Well, we can't get any worse.
Forward. Well, but that's what the transfer window is for as well, isn't it? To improve the squad. And I think that we have needed to improve the squad, and I think we've done that to a certain degree so far. We need more. I agree with Alex. Midfield we are desperate. And can Smith-Rowe come in and do that job now for this season? I don't know. He can.
I'm not saying you don't go and buy a Partey or someone like that in the midfield, which we desperately need, obviously. But if you we need to give these players a bit of a chance as well, not just start bringing in, this talk again. I mean, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? About Julian Draxler and all that. Just forget about those. I mean, he's 26 now. He's never done it anywhere he's been. So why not just give the minutes to someone like Emile Smith-Rowe? I'm not saying you have to play every single minute of every game, but play him. Let him be part of an active part of the squad. Definitely get him to play all the cup games, but I would still use him off the bench, even like half an hour to go in the Premier League, because they need to get that experience. And he's 20 now. He's not 17-year-old anymore. So we need to do that. Otherwise, because, there's already talk of clubs in Germany and Monaco most recently wanting to buy him off us. I would just be so disappointed if he left without having a proper go at it within the club. You know, I'm not saying he's the answer to all of our problems. I know that we need to buy some decent players because we desperately need to get back in the top four because of the financial aspect of it. But we can't let that completely take over because we're actually supposed to be doing a rebuild. We need a whole new rebuild. And that's why I was annoyed about thinking we're going to get rid of Maitland-Niles just as he's coming to that perfect age of 23, and he's completely bought into the Arteta philosophy, and he's showing what he can do on the pitch now, and his mentality has changed beyond belief. And then we sell him, you know, obviously we're not now, but when that came up, selling him to Wolves, who was a team that we're going to be competing for to get into the top four, let's not forget. Why would you do that when you're in the midst of a big rebuild? You know, so we need to actually start backing some of these players and giving them minutes and giving them some belief, and us as fans giving them some support. I think that's really important.
No, I totally agree. Obviously, Melvin in the chat agrees as well. So thanks for your comment there, Melvin. He's a big fan of your view there, Andrew, as well.
Oh, that's very nice. Thanks, Melvin.
But no, I mean, I agree.
Andrew makes some great points.
Yeah, go on, James.
Andrew makes some great points, but the fan base has got to understand. I mean, look at the way that Andrew has put that forward. Right, he's put that forward in a clear and concise manner that everybody can understand. I'm along the similar lines. When we signed Gabriel, I put out a tweet saying, in my opinion, this will block the pathway for McGuinness and Ballard. You don't want to know the abuse I received. Absolutely unreal. All I was saying was it blocks the pathway of a young defender that's come through the youth setup at Arsenal, that Arsenal have invested in, and you can understand why Emile Smith. If Monaco come in for Smith Rowe, as I've also read, you can understand why he would go. Monaco's youth academy has always literally been the jewel in that club's crown. Always, if you go through the history of Monaco, the jewel in their crown has always been their own academy, or picking up young players from other academies as well.
Mbappe.
And not Thierry Henry as well. And
I'm just saying Mbappe was given a chance when he was 18. You know, if the manager at Monaco hadn't given him that chance, where would he be now? And I'm saying the same about Martinelli. He's not too young at 18 or 19 anymore. Look, how old is Erling Braut Haaland? About 19? You know, everyone wants us to go out and buy Szoboszlai. Who's to say that Emile Smith Rowe isn't just as good, if not better than that Szoboszlai, however you pronounce it? But it's just because they're abroad. They seem more glamorous, and we need to spend money to go and get them. It seems more that's what you should do. But you might have them in house. You know, I think Emile Smith Rowe could quite easily be better than that Szoboszlai. Genuinely.
The transfer window created this situation, hasn't it? Because there's a transfer window, fans want the club to buy players, don't they? Because that's what the transfer window is for. And it's created that issue, hasn't it, really, where if you don't spend any money and you promoted all your youth players, there would be uproar amongst the fan base. We're paying season ticket prices. We expect the club to invest that money back into the playing squad. And that's what the problem would be if they didn't do that. I mean, it's getting the balance right. I think Arteta's got the right ideas. He's given a lot of the young players a chance, hasn't he? With Saka, he puts a lot of faith in him. He's put a lot of faith in Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson. He's been picking quite a lot, and obviously Eddie up front as well. So he's picking them ones, isn't he? Yeah, I don't think he can throw them all in, unfortunately.
The same fan base, though, would go mental if we did actually end up selling Emile Smith Rowe without giving him a chance as well. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would go mental. I was really pissed off. Pardon my language. Last summer, like I said, about getting rid of Christian Bielik. I was desperate for him to get a chance. But yeah. I tell you now, Saka is incredible, lovely kid, amazing talent. I've thought for at least 2 years about this great crop of youngsters we've got coming through at the same time. That Emile Smith Rowe could be the best of the lot. Now, if we lose him without giving him a chance, like the same we've given him a chance to Saka, then, I mean, what's the point? What's the point in having a grade 1 academy if you're going to get rid of one of your best ones without even giving them a chance? I totally get what you mean about you can't throw them all in, but Man United did in '92. And look, you can never win anything with kids, can you? Now, like I said, I wouldn't expect them all to start in the same team every week, but they all need to be included and feel part of the squad and get their share of minutes. And I agree with James. I mean, regards to Zach Medley, I've seen him play in person a few times. Great player. There was also, and his name escapes me, who played against MK Dons. He actually played on the left back. The massive, powerful, big a black guy who, I don't know what's his name. Escapes me, but he had an incredible game as well. But the one thing I would say about that, James, is that it is far harder to put a centre back in immediately without sort of gradually introducing them via the cups and so on and so forth, because that end of the pitch, if you make a mistake, you're behind, aren't you? You give a goal away. So I do understand that they need to be. But they can play all the cup games, can't they? You know, in the early rounds of the Europa League, I totally agree with you.
Can I jump in there?
Yeah,
go on.
Sorry. I think I agree with what you're saying, guys, James and Andrew. I think Arsenal is the wrong example to use these sort of. Well, I mean, Smith Rowe, I think, is an extreme example because I agree with you. I think he's the biggest talent we've had since Wilshere. But in terms of Arsenal, last season we played, on average, the youngest team in the whole Premier League. So I think Arsenal's a bad example. I think we, in this current climate we have in the Premier League, play as many youngsters as we possibly can. And you bring up Germany, France, and the Eridsville as well. They're not the Premier League. I mean, Dortmund, they could put their reserves out and finish second in the league. Monaco, I know they're trying to bridge the gap. But with Arsenal, and Unai Emery is a perfect example. If you don't get it right fast, you're sacked in 12 months. And that's the standard of the Premier League. And, Zach Medley and McGuinness, people like that, no disrespect to them, but would they come in and keep a clean sheet against Chelsea away? I can't see it happening. And the pressure's instantly on them then, and that just doesn't help. Every cup game we have, we always rotate with the youngsters in there, and excuse me, we cannot play 11 youngsters in the cups against these. Like Man City's reserves are probably good enough to challenge Bayern Munich in the league. So I think Arsenal actually, in terms of bringing youngsters through, do as much as we can. We're competing against teams like Chelsea who spend 200 million. I actually think Arsenal do as best we can in that regard.
Yeah, but Saliba is younger than Zach Medley, and we're going to put all our trust in him.
Yeah, but that's clear. William Saliba's clear player profiling, isn't it? They've gone for someone big, quick, fast.
In the Farmers League, though, who has only played 20 odd games. It's the same, but we're putting all our trust in him. And I don't disagree with you at all. And like I said before, defence is a different kettle of fish because they can't be thrust straight into the Premier League and expect to be, another Virgil van Dijk from the first match that they play. And if they do make a mistake, then we're at risk of giving a goal away. So I completely agree. But the point I'm trying to make is, because we've gone out and bought William Saliba, a highly promising young defender, who, let's face it, has hardly played any first-class games. But because we've gone and bought him for £27 million, we fully expect him to be virtually the finished article and much better than the defenders that we have been grooming in our under-23s for the last 2, 3, 4 years. So, but what do we actually base that on?
Yeah, William Saliba's, they've confirmed, haven't they, that he was part of this new player profiling scouting system. He's 6'4", he's built like a bodybuilder. That's player profiling. I don't think we've got anyone like that. And that's a big defender, like as someone we've lacked for a long time. But I think centre backs.
You get my point, though. You get my point.
Yeah, I get your point.
I'm delighted with the William Saliba signing, right? I am, and I do apologise for butting in there. I want to just make sure that I'm just making myself clear that I don't disagree with those signings, because we're crying out for that defence for years, and they could be our defensive partnership for the next 10 years. I'd be absolutely delighted if that's the case. But at the front end of the pitch, especially in the wide positions where Smith Rowe could play, it's so much easier to blood players in the front end of the pitch, because you can get away with the odd mistake. You can, but we need to. But we're blessed at the moment. We're overflowing, and we can't. They're not all going to make it at Arsenal, but we're overflowing with this talent, and people are still going on about Serge Gnabry years down the line. So we've got to see what these players can do when in high pressure situations, and we're only going to get that if we do give them minutes. So, as much as I'm going to go on to the fact about Willian, I'm actually I'm happy with that signing. I wasn't initially, but it's actually really grown on me, and I think that he could play a big part this year. But when he first signed, I thought it's another nail in the coffin of Emile Smith Rowe, who could play in the same sort of roles where he can play. And it does do my head in a bit, but I just really hope to God that we do start blooding them, because I think we could miss out on some real gems, and we don't want another Gnabry situation, do we? But I do agree with what you've said as well, Alex. I do, completely. But I just want to make sure that we don't just let these players go without just seeing the best of our crop of youngsters. I just want to see them in a team as well, because there's nothing more exciting than seeing a team that full of, our own talent, our own players that we've actually cultivated through our academy system. I lived through the 89 season, and the team was full of our youth players. There's 2 or 3, 4 players maybe that were brought into the club from externally. The rest were our players. And it makes it so special that we are doing it the right way, and we're not trying to buy the league like Chelsea are doing and like Man City are doing. We can do it organically, the right way, and that makes it even more sweet when you win cups and leagues, and which we hopefully will do further down the line.
No, I agree. I mean, the only thing I would want to add to that really is, obviously, in terms of buying the league and buying trophies, I mean, what do we make of this Aubameyang contract, the amount of money that it's supposed to be worth, even higher than what Ozil, the bigger contract than what Ozil's on? I mean, is that the right decision for the club to have made? Obviously, he's an important player that we need to keep if we can, but is that not setting a bit more of a problem, similar problems that we suffered with Ozil? Do you not think, or is Aubameyang a different issue, and maybe we should be giving him that contract? Bearing in mind, it's probably going to affect now who else we can bring in, I would assume, bearing in mind that the money the club's lost with all the COVID situation and whatnot, with people that's lost their jobs inside the club and what have you. So you're guessing that the money's a little bit tight. So is this the right thing, basically, to offer Aubameyang this bigger contract when we might not have necessarily needed to give him that much? Maybe, I don't know. What do we think about that? I mean, what do you think, James, on that, the contract to Aubameyang?
Well, I just think that I believe that we are now in a position where we are paying Aubameyang, Ozil, and Willian in excess of £750,000 a week of a wage bill. And obviously, being in the unprecedented times we're in, to go back quickly to the point that Andrew made about that 89 team that was blooded through, those men became legends. Those men became legends coming through our youth setup. But obviously, in this day and age, people have got no time for legends, have they? People have got no time and no patience. And when you have a different opinion, they want to shoot you down in flames straight away. But I just think with Aubameyang's age as well, who's to say with the ages of Willian and Aubameyang, who's to say that you're not going to get the same situation with Aubameyang or Willian in the next season or two, and they're signed for 2 or 3 years and they're on huge wages. You imagine if Emile Smith Rowe does go to Monaco, and Willian has a great 6 months to a season. Following season, he never plays. What are people going to say then? They'll soon change their tune. And I just think that there's more ways to Rome, as they say, and it's a big old world out there. And so, yes, it's brilliant that Aubameyang turned up in the FA Cup final and obviously was important in the Charity Shield. But when you start to become too dependent on one player, that's not a good sign, is it? And I just think that going back to my earlier point, I just think we've missed a trick this transfer window. We could have dealt with it a little bit better. I just taking our time and you don't have to plan. You don't have to bring every youth player in, but the best 4 from the academy, give them a squad number, make them see that they've got a pathway to the first team. Let them know that. And this is what I mean about missing a trick. But to go back quickly on the Aubameyang, I'm in the minority, but I wouldn't have give it. But obviously, I get viewed as negative for that. But look at his age. Arsenal going forward. Are we going to win a title with Aubameyang? I don't think so. The wages as well. We could look around and see what else is available. And I wouldn't have give it. But as I say, that's just my opinion. We're ahead here, so it's been great to speak to you all. Alex, really enjoyed speaking to you for the first time.
Hey,
great points.
Take care, mate.
Yeah. Oh, he's gone. In terms of Alex, what are your thoughts on that? Do you not think that is it too much money we're offering him? Do you think that's not could cause problems, or do you think it's the right thing we've done? In bearing in mind how important he is to the team at the moment.
I think it just boils down to perhaps unless we offered that, he's not signing. And if that's the case, then we were right to keep him because he's the best player possibly in the league, definitely at Arsenal. I've got no problem with it, and a lot's been made of his age. I haven't seen any decline in his speed or his sharpness, so I've got no problem with it. People comparing it to Ozil, I think they're so different in terms of their character. I've never once seen, even off the field, any issues with Aubameyang. If anything, I'd say he's probably the best character we have in the side. He's always joking. He's always with the youngsters. Of course, the decline could happen with anyone. And you could sign Lionel Messi when he was 27. He could break his legs. There's a risk with every sort of massive financial deal like that. Personally, with the finances, you've just got to trust the club that, they wouldn't have done it unless they could afford it. That's the way I look at it. I've got no problem with it, to be honest with you.
We've got rid of Mkhitaryan's wage, which is 180 grand a week, and that we've given it to Aubameyang, and I don't think you could do any better than that. Yeah. I think, and personally, having watched the Premier League as long as I have now, I think that with Willian and Aubameyang, I don't see any issue. I think there's. If you look at the amount of appearances Willian's made over the last 5 or 6 years. He's never made anything less than 40, I think it was 47 appearances every season for the last 5 years. And he's as fit as a fiddle. And touch wood, he's the same as Aubameyang. He's never had any lengthy injuries either. I think they're just, there's certain specimens of human beings that are just superhuman, And Aubameyang, I think he's getting better. I think he's got better year on year. Yeah, and let's just face it, we'd get no money for him if we were to try and sell him. And I don't think anyone's got the money to sort of buy him and give him the wage that he needs at the moment either. But if we were to sell him, we'd have to replace him. And it'd be far, far more expensive to replace Aubameyang, to buy with a transfer fee, then another bloody agent's fee, and then give that player the wages, than it is to give Aubameyang a new contract. And I think it's an absolute no-brainer. And if we'd have lost him, can you imagine how everyone would be feeling at the beginning of this season? Would you have anywhere near the amount of optimism? I know I wouldn't have. He is a talisman, and I think he's eclipsed. Because in my opinion, in the Emirates era, Alexis Sanchez was our best player. I thought it got me off my seat. He was so exciting. And I know it ended acrimoniously, but put all that to one side, he was an incredible player, wasn't he, Alexis Sanchez? An absolute game winner. He won us cups. I think Aubameyang's totally eclipsed him. And, he won us the cups pretty much single-handedly last year. And the commitment he shows. The tracking back, he's one of our best defenders as well as attacker. The work rate he puts in is just second to none. And you can't go against giving him this contract because he absolutely deserves it, and his attitude off the pitch as well, like you said, Alex, is just second to none, and everyone loves him. Everyone loves him, and you can see the videos he puts out on his Instagram and everything when he, when he had the charity shield in the safety belt, and he said, "I'm not dropping this one," and all that, and laughing. It's just a character that you would not want to lose. So I'm delighted with it, and I think in a similar way, we get to see him enter the field as an Arsenal player, but I do think that Willian could be that kind of character as well. Not, outwardly expressive and jokey and blah, 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 but I think athlete-wise, I think we're going to see the same sort of thing with him. I don't think he's going to have any kind of regression athletically over the next year or two at all. I think he's going to be quite an astute buy. But just one last point. I do apologise. I don't want to hog the microphone, but I haven't been on the podcast for ages, so you'd have to forgive me. But with regards to Willian's contract, doesn't it annoy you as much as it annoys me? When have you ever known anyone in the media or anywhere to actually count up everything, including all of the agents' fees, all the signing-on fees, all the potential bonuses if we win the Champions League and the Premier League? They've added the whole lot up and divided it amongst the 36 months. So that's like, that is what he earns a week. When has that ever been done before? They just try and make us look stupid. His actual salary is widely reported as 120 grand a week. But according to everyone in the media, it's 200 and something grand a week, because they've added everything, every possible outcome of all these add-ons and delivered that as his weekly wage.
That's because they know that we're going to win the Premier League and the Champions League in the 3 years.
Well, I really hope we do, because they'll shove it up their bums. But when has that ever been done with any other player? It's just, honestly, it really winds me up. He's not on £250,000 a week at all. He's on 120 grand a week, which I think, for a player of his quality, is just, I think it's quite cheap in this day and age, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just winds me up anyway. Sorry about that.
No. I mean, just on the Aubameyang thing. I mean, I'm glad he's staying at the club, because I think he's massively important, isn't he? The most important player, not only for what he brings to the team, not only his character, but also what the younger players are learning from him as well. Martinelli, for example, he's learning a lot from Aubameyang since he's been at the club. So I think it's important. I don't like the contract, the amount of it, really. I can just see it.
We don't know that. We don't know what his contract's going to be yet either, do we? Again, for weeks and weeks, it's been reported at $250,000. 250 grand a week for 3 years, and then he's going to have all these bonuses and bonuses and bonuses. Is that being reported with all the potential add-ons and all that as well? We don't know, do we? And it's not our money at the end of the day. So I think we should all just be happy that he signed on and just let the club worry about all that sort of stuff. But we have got Mkhitaryan's wage off.
Yeah, no, we have. It's just more. It's just what worries me a little bit is the way that the fans have turned on Ozil, and his wage gets mentioned every single time he either doesn't play well. Is that going to later on down the line, if Aubameyang misses a penalty or maybe he has a couple of poor games, is it going to be, well, why are we paying him all that money? And I just don't want that to be an issue, and I just worry it might be coming.
It's chalk and cheese, though. It's chalk and cheese with Aubameyang and Ozil. Aubameyang, Ozil. No, totally different characters, totally different performances on the pitch, aren't they?
What our fans can be like, that's the only thing, that if he has a couple of poor... Let's face it, he had some poor games last season, didn't he? Not, everybody does, and he had a few poor games like everybody else. And unfortunately, that could lead to, going forward in the future with this big contract, that could end up, leading to a few issues maybe along those lines. I'm hoping it won't, and I'm hoping that our fans can see beyond that, and they know what an important player he is and an important person he is at the club, and let's hope that can be the case. But
a goal drought for him is 2 games without scoring. So when has he ever gone, any length of time without scoring a goal?
I mean, I think 4 games he's ever been. Yeah,
I think that's the most ever, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
which is amazing.
You just cannot compare him and Ozil. You just can't. And it would never come to that. It will never come to that, because he will always score goals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that's the case, but it just concerns me slightly that could end up getting, if he has a series of poor games, which hopefully
This is the Positive Arsenal podcast. You've actually named it yourself, so let's just rejoice in the fact that we're keeping him, and forget about the negative aspects and what might happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're right, and I don't want to worry about that. But hopefully that's the case. He has signed, and that's obviously that is good news because he's so important. Just moving on now. I mean, I just wanted to really touch on what our expectations are for the season. I mean, I know we don't know exactly how the transfer window is going to finish yet because there's still a few weeks left. But at this moment in time, with the players that we've got, let's assume we don't buy anybody else for the sake of it for now. What would your expectations be for the season, Alex? How do you think we will get on this season? What do you think will be a successful season as things are at this moment now?
A successful season is a top 4 finish or Europa League win. But if I'm being realistic right now, without any further signings, I'd say we'd finish 5th behind Liverpool, City, Chelsea and United. But, I mean, Arteta, I think, is a better manager than Ole and Lampard, and that could be the difference, as well as us being able to rest players in Europa League while they can't do that in the Champions League. So we could be a little bit more fresh than them. But at the moment, I think we'll finish either 4th or 5th. I can't see us finishing any higher than that, or lower than that, really. I think we'll finish 5th, if I'm honest.
Well, what about if we do get in a couple more players, such as Thomas Partey, for example? Do you think that might make a big difference?
I think it will, because you can't play Xhaka Ceballos every game. And if you take one of them out, it's Guendouzi or Joe Willock, depending on formation. I think Ozil's going to play a bit more. But I just think if we lose Xhaka or Ceballos, we're in big trouble. And our midfield isn't the best anyway. But if we got Partey in, I think he'll be top 4 then. I think he'll almost be nailed on. I think Arteta's a much better manager than Ole and Lampard.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Definitely agree with that without a shadow of a doubt. He's a much better coach. He's much better with the players. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with that. What about you, Andrew? What's your sort of expectations for the season? I know you're quite optimistic, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I totally echo what Alex just said, and I think that you cannot underestimate what difference it'll make having Arteta as a coach, because I think he's right up there as far as the coaching goes. I just can't see us finishing outside the top 4. I genuinely can't. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer,
with the current squad now, without no more signings, as we stand.
No, I think we'll get if the season started and we could not sign anymore. I think we'll get 4th. I do. I really, really do. I think that Man City will win the league this year. I think that Liverpool are good. People forget, well, the Liverpool. It's not a Liverpool podcast. I don't give a shit about Liverpool. But before the shutdown, since the new year, they were on the decline from January onwards. Before the shutdown, they'd lost 4 out the last 6 games as well. And the way that they ended the league, it's not been good, is it? I don't think they're going to be as good this season. Don't get me wrong. I know that they're going to be right up there, but there's a bit of a decline there, and it's been completely glossed over by everyone in the media that they're actually not playing very well at the moment. But I think that Arteta is by far, far, far and away a better coach than Lampard and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think that we are going to be a lot more consistent this year. I don't think we're going to draw as many games. I think that the 13 games we drew last year, and if we only turn 5 of those draws into wins this season round, you know, the points difference you'll get. And if we'd have done that, you know, it just drives me mad that we didn't have Arteta for the whole season, doesn't it? If you look back, but we could, hey ho. But since January the 1st, as I've said this loads of times, I do apologise. His philosophies, and we've seen what the difference it's made. So I'm so confident that we will do really well. I think that if we did get Partey, and God forbid if we did get Aouar as well, then I think we could be challenging for 2nd or 3rd. Genuinely.
Yeah.
But I don't think we will. I think we might get one of them. I think we might get one of those players, and that could make a difference between third and fourth. But I still think we'll get fourth, and I'm very confident we'll have a good run in the Europa League this year as well. I really, really do. I think we could potentially win that. We're favourites with the bookies.
Oh, yeah,
and I think that's for a reason. I think we possibly could. I'm not going to say anything about the domestic cups and that one of those. I'll be quite happy with fourth and the Europa League. I'm not going to be too greedy, but who knows? I think. But the thing is, Arteta goes into every single game, every single competition. He will want to win it. He's got that mentality, isn't he? And if you aim for first, but come fourth, that he will still be disappointed because he's, that's the mentality he's got. But he will always go into it to win. So, I'm going fourth and win the Europa League, and I can't get odds on it at the moment because they're not going to give you the odds until the Europa League qualifying has finished. And, with Lokomotiv, Plovdiv, you never know how far they're going to go after they've knocked out Spurs. So, but I'm going to put a bet on. I'm going to put a bet on fourth and the Europa League champions. That's what I think.
That would be fantastic. I mean, I still think that the transfer window that's left is still important. I do think I agree we need a couple more players in midfield particularly, and if we can get those in, then I believe we can actually really challenge. I think the league title this year isn't going to be 98 points again or anything like that. I think it's going to be a lot closer. I can't see anyone getting maybe more than 85, 86, that sort of region for the champions. I think this year, I think it's going to be a lot tighter. And who's to say if we don't strengthen it, if we can strengthen our midfield, I don't see any reason why we can't be up there around about that mark, 80 odd points. I don't see why we can't do that. And I mean, it might seem optimistic, and people might think, oh well, we've got no chance of changing for the league. But what you've got to remember is, I think Liverpool, I agree with you, are in a slight decline from where they've been. Even Man City showed, didn't they? Even with the squad that they've got with Pep and everything like that, they had 2 great seasons in terms of consistently points in the league. Then they struggled for the next season to get there again. Liverpool have had 2 seasons. I think they're going to struggle to get them sort of numbers again. And I think it's going to be a lot more congested really between maybe the top 6 actually are going to be a lot closer together. So we could potentially finish anywhere between 1st and 6th probably with somewhere like between sort of 78 and 85 points, and
well, don't forget Leicester, that's that famous old saying, don't forget what Leicester did. Yeah, but exactly. 2 years ago Liverpool were 24 points behind the champions Man City. Yeah. And they clawed that back the season after and finished with 97 points, 1 point behind City. They clawed back 20 odd points in that first season. Now, we've got a lot more to claw back from the champions last year. But I would not be surprised. And I said this to you, Richard, on another podcast, didn't I? Yeah. I said I wouldn't be surprised if we are within around sort of 15 points from the eventual champions next year. I think we could. I honestly think we're going to be that difficult to beat. The only problem we've got is smashing up the lower teams. If Arteta can work out a system whereby we can beat the teams that we should be beating week in, week out at the lower end of the Premier League, then he'd already shown against the top 4. We've never had a better record than last season against the top 4. I don't think I can't remember the last season we beat them all.
Yeah, no, I agree.
In the last, so I think we're doing so much better against them. If we can start learning how to dispatch the lower part of the Premier League, then what have we got to worry about? And if we do bring in another player or 2 in midfield, then I'm even more confident, than I am now.
No, exactly. I completely agree. I actually feel as though we could be dark horses in a way for the league, because I don't think anybody particularly thinks we can even finish in the top 4. Most people think the top 4 is Liverpool, Man City, Man United and Chelsea, and that's pretty much set in stone. Whoever you speak to is pretty much saying that. We're not even considered to be a top 4 team, probably because we finished last year, which you can understand to a degree. But, I can see massive improvements over a short period of time with Arteta. We have improved the squad, as you said. If we can improve it a little bit more between now and October, then I don't see any reason why we won't be in the mix. I'm not sure we've quite got the strength to hold off Man City and Liverpool over 38 games. Realistically, we probably haven't. But I don't see any reason why we can't finish third. Certainly don't see any reason why we can't. And I say if we do strengthen in the midfield, then we could potentially, it could go even higher maybe. But
yeah, I believe you. And I agree. I totally agree. If we can match them when we play them and not lose, we don't even have to worry about the other playing against Liverpool and Man City. We could quite easily afford to lose against them. But as long as we're more consistent against the other teams, that's what we've got to do. We dropped too many points and drew too many games, and that I genuinely don't think it's going to happen anymore. We're not going to get thrashed by Liverpool away, and that's the other good thing on our side. We've got all these big teams away when there's no crowds in the stadium still. And we're playing them early on, aren't we?
And they won't all be maybe up to full speed either because it's very early on. The lack of pre-season. I mean, Man City aren't even playing, are they, the first weekend because of their running year, Man United as well. So, playing them early on could be quite a good thing for us. I agree that we could pick up some extra points there that we may not have done had we played them at another time. So let's wait and see what happens. I mean, I'm very optimistic. It seems like all three of us are pretty optimistic about the top four anyway.
We've got the coaches that come in as well. And we conceded, 16 goals, I think, against teams from set pieces, didn't we?
Yeah.
Last year. And who knows? I mean, the difference between bringing in those coaches could make the difference of. I mean, even if they make a difference of not conceding, say, 3 or 4 goals, and also because they're going to be coaching us on taking set pieces as well, maybe we could score another 3 or 4 goals. That could be the difference between finishing second or third.
Yeah.
It could be the difference between. Exactly, yeah, and the difference in prize money and all that, what that could actually lead to, it's a stroke of genius if these coaches can actually just make that swing a little bit, from conceding so many goals and scoring a few more, little things like that could be the difference. So yeah, it's very, very good, looking good. I'm very excited, like I said, more excited for a start of the season than I have been for probably a couple of decades, really, because
I'm completely on that way of thinking as well, actually. So it's good at the moment. So that's what I like about the start of the season, because you can be optimistic and no one can laugh because we're level on points with everybody. Nobody's ahead of us, and hopefully after Saturday we'll still be at least ahead of everybody. I mean, just going on to sort of the opening day fixtures. I mean, I know there's a few games that aren't being played because of the 2 Manchester clubs not playing. Just maybe, how do we think that the opening sort of games will go? I mean, if we start with Liverpool against Leeds, Alex, what do you think that will go?
I was going to say that's the best game of the lot. I think.
Definitely.
I think we know more than most other Premier League sides how good Leeds are. That first 45 minutes in the FA Cup was probably the hardest 45 minutes we had all season. It was embarrassing, actually. I think they could be the surprise package of the season. They may get 7th or 8th, depending how good their signings gel. I think they could catch Liverpool cold. I think I'm going to go for a draw there. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah,
I think they're going to beat Liverpool.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think they're going to beat Liverpool. Yeah.
Wow, that'd be good.
I honestly do. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 2-1. Maybe people are going to really underestimate Leeds, and like you said, Alex, I wasn't embarrassed at all by that first 45 minutes because I'd actually been watching a few Leeds games because I've just been swept up in the media hype over the last 12 to 18 months after Bielsa came in, and I've actually watched a few of their games, and they're a brilliant team. They're going to be this season's Sheffield United, but I've got no doubt about that. And the way I saw that first half against Leeds when we played them in the Cup, I sort of said, imagine if you're standing outside in a hailstorm, and the wind is blowing the hail right into your face because it's blowing in horizontally. I said that's how our defenders must have felt that day with the swarm after swarm after swarm of attack. They were fantastic, and they should have put us to bed. The first half. That's what. a brilliant result in the end, the way that Arteta turned it round. And I'd wonder what he said at half time. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall there. But no, I can honestly see them beating Liverpool, and I would say they'll win 2-1. And I think it's going to be a great game, really good game.
That's a bold prediction. I mean, I kind of I agree with Alex. I think it'll be a draw. I maybe think 2-2. I just think there could be goals in it. I think Liverpool, like you said, they could be caught cold a little bit because I don't think they're pressing sort of game the way that they play. It needs a bit of rhythm, and because of pre-season, I don't think they've maybe got that yet. We saw in the Community Shield that they wasn't on their game, were they? I know we played well, but they wasn't quite at the level. So I think, Leeds probably had a better pre-season preparation, possibly, and I think they can definitely be a draw. I think Leeds can get a draw there, definitely. I'd be surprised.
Well, it's their first game back in the Premier League for 16 years. Can you imagine how much they're going to be up for that game away at the champions? Can you imagine what they're going to be up for? I mean, they're going to be all over them like flies around a pile of dog poo, aren't they? Putting it politely. They are going to be all over them, and they're going to work their socks off. You can bet your bottom dollar. And I honestly think they're just going to shock Liverpool. Really. I
think Jonathan in the chat there agrees with everyone as well that they think that Liverpool might struggle in that game, and none of us have predicted Liverpool to win, which would be good, wasn't it? Because the more points they drop early on in the season, the better it is for everybody. So that would be good. I mean, the next game I wanted to look at was West Ham against Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle's takeover has obviously not happened now for this season. I mean, West Ham have had a few internal issues by the look of it as well. That could be an interesting game as well, I think. What do you think of that one, Alex?
I think West Ham fans must be the most frustrated fan base in the league. I always look at West Ham and I don't really know what direction they want to head in. They're not a relegation battling side, looking at the finances they spend and stuff. But they always seem to be hovering around there. And, they don't really ever give us a game. That's probably one of our most successful sides to play against. I think they said that statistically last season. And Newcastle, quite similar, I suppose. But I think the business they've done with Fraser and Callum Wilson, they could turn out to be the bargain buys of the summer. I think Newcastle will nick it. I think I'll go 2-1 Newcastle.
Oh, another away team. What do you think of that one, Andrew? West Ham, Newcastle.
I've got a soft spot for Newcastle. I think probably going back to the Kevin Keegan era. I think everyone sort of warmed to them a little bit around that time, and I feel so sorry for their fan base as well. What they've been putting up with lately. Imagine it's like them winning the lottery, and then a few months later, the lottery come back and say, "Sorry, we've made a mess up. I need that money back." After all the talk of the takeover and everything, and then for it to fall through last minute, they must feel like. But I think that like you said, the players they've brought in have been really good, and Jeff Hendrick is good. He's actually an underrated midfielder, for Burnley, and they got him on a free as well. So I think they're going to do all right, and and be sort of mid-table again. But I think West Ham, I couldn't agree more with Alex. They're totally directionless. They're rudderless. Look what their captain, who's been with the club for 2 decades, tweeting out about them selling that youth player, who I can't remember his name, and all the players liking it, and and even Jack Wilshere sent him a direct message on Instagram as well, saying gutted you've gone, and all this sort of stuff. I mean, the whole team is just ridiculous, and they deserve to go down, and they would be my tip to go down. And do you know what? It's going to get even worse for them, because I still think that before the end of this window, they're going to lose Declan Rice to Chelsea, because they are desperate for Declan Rice to be part of a back three. So I honestly think that even after everything they've spent, I still think that Chelsea are going to get Declan Rice, and can you imagine the uproar from their fans? So I genuinely think that West Ham could go down this year. I think their luck's going to run out. They're in a mess, absolute mess, and the club will never forgive them for moving grounds, leaving Upton Park. I feel a little bit like that about leaving Highbury, to be perfectly honest. So they feel the same, and I can't see anything good for West Ham. They buy all these players and they just cannot ever get them to gel together. They've got no direction, no cohesive way of playing. They don't know what they're doing with their managers, and I can only see them going down. All the fans want the board out as well, don't they? It just doesn't end, does it? There's so many problems there. It makes us look like we're skipping through poppy fields, with all our problems. So I can't see them doing anything this season. I will think, saying that, first game of the season, I probably think it would just be a boring 1-1 draw or something with Newcastle. But I think Newcastle will be all right this year, actually. But I think I'll go for a 1-1 draw.
I mean, Jonathan, there's agreeing with you saying that West Ham in a mess. I mean, I heard the other day that apparently there's been training ground bust-ups and all sorts going on there. So I do think they've got a lot of issues that David Moyes is going to have to sort out, or they are going to struggle. And that they may be playing Newcastle at a bad time. They've just had a good couple of signings come in. I don't know how fit they are ready to play or not, both of them. So I think if they both play against West Ham, I think Newcastle will probably win. And I actually agree that Newcastle...
I hope Newcastle win,
I think they'll have a decent season because their problem last year was scoring goals, wasn't it, more than anything? And now they've got two players who linked well together at Bournemouth. Callum Wilson can score goals, and Ryan Fraser, he's a decent winger, isn't he? Can supply stuff. They've got that St. Maximin as well, who's a good player. So,
they can use that Joe Linton in the right role now as well. He's never so. He could link up quite well with Callum Wilson, so they could have a decent. What's that player that they got rid of that they had on loan? The South American player a couple of seasons ago, Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? Good with his head, really tall.
Rondon.
That's it, Rondon. I think that he could play, this Joel Linton could actually play the Rondon role now, sort of as the hold-up player, battering ram, and to allow Callum Wilson to play off and score a few goals. So I think they could actually have a decent season, Yeah,
I do as well. I don't think they'll be far off the top 8, actually, Newcastle, if they keep their players fit and stuff like that. I mean, I think they'll beat West Ham. West Ham generally don't start particularly well. They lost 5-0, didn't they, on the opening day last year? I know they played Man City, but losing 5-0 at home on the first game is not great, is it? So I think Newcastle will win, maybe 2-0 or something like that, 2-1.
I hope so, yeah. I hate West Ham. West Ham is fucking...
I mean, I don't mind West Ham. I grew up around there, so I've got a bit of a soft...
to be honest, I don't mind the club, but the way that they're being run and everything that's going on there, I just feel sorry for the fans. And I just, for the board's sake, the way what they've done to that club, they deserve to go down. And I hate them for that. So... I'm a football fan at the end of the day, and I do have sympathy with some clubs on occasions as well. But the way that Gold, Sullivan, Brady, what they've done to that club and those fans, I just think they deserve everything they get, and I really hope they go down. So I do hope Newcastle win.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel a bit sorry for the West Ham fans, actually. It's not really their fault, is it?
No.
Getting badly run, as Jonathan's pointed out there as well, exactly the same there. And it's a shame for the fans, really. But, I do think they've got a tough season ahead, actually. And I think they maybe will just about stay up, possibly. But, I think they've got a tough season. I think Newcastle will beat them on Saturday. I don't think it's going to be a great game, is it? But I think Newcastle might nick it maybe 2-1. Next game I want to look at is could be an interesting one, actually. Spurs against Everton. Everton, of course, spent big, haven't they? Brought in a lot of players this transfer window. Some good players as well, actually. A couple of players that I wouldn't have minded us getting, but and obviously Tottenham, who are Tottenham. So what do we expect from that, Alex? What are your kind of thoughts on that game?
That's another contender for the game of the weekend, isn't it? Especially with what Everton have done business wise. I've got to be honest, I think Spurs will be better this season. Jose just has that sort of winning habit, doesn't he? Even though the football's rubbish, he is going to make them a harder team to beat. I think Spurs' season, as most have pointed out, is going to depend on Harry Kane, and I think that's all they've sort of got at the moment. Son's probably their second best player, but I think without Harry Kane, they just fall to like a mid-table side. But Everton, they just never seem to close the gap, do they? No matter how much money they spend. I think I'll go as Spurs win. I think they will pull that one off. I think 2-1 Spurs. That's where I'm going. But it'd be interesting to see how Everton get off this season. But they've got the manager to go along with the signings this time, so let's see how they get on.
Yeah, no, they could do well. What do you think about that, Andrew? Tottenham against Everton?
6-0 Everton. Move on.
That's what I like to hear. I mean, I think Everton might take a little bit of time to get together, to gel as a team. They've got a few new players coming in, and they have got a good manager, Ancelotti, so I think they will do well, but I'm not sure they're going to start particularly well, just because I think that they're going to take a little bit of time to settle. So I don't want to predict a Tottenham win, obviously. But I don't think Everton are quite ready yet to maybe face a game. It's going to be a tough game. I'm going to say a draw, just because I'd rather it be a draw than Tottenham win. So
Tottenham
I think they'll be I think 2-2, but I like 6-0 to Everton. Sounds a good result, actually.
I don't want to see Tottenham are just
top of the league. I'd rather we went top of the league. So maybe win like 2-0 or 3-0 or something instead. God, Jose Mourinho is a busted flush of a manager. I don't care what anyone says. They're not going to win anything under him because they're Spurs. And do you know what? It's that bad that even Spurs are dragging Jose Mourinho down, let alone the other way round. So they're going nowhere this season. And I'll just be laughing as they, fall and smash their head on the gutter. Vincent doesn't agree with him. He thinks Jose will have a better season than last year.
No, I don't. I think they're going to have a worse season than last year. They were lucky last year, if anything. So,
they were. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of Tottenham this season, to be honest. Because, like Alex said, Jose generally has got a record of making teams difficult to beat. And Tottenham did lose a lot of last couple of seasons. They've lost a lot of games, haven't they?
Yeah.
And he will stop that. I think they won't lose as many games. I think that's going to be obvious. But I'm not sure that they're going to necessarily improve much on where they finished 6th last year.
All Dele Alli cares about is how people fucking brush their teeth. For God's sake. I mean, I'm really enjoying that. Concentrate on your football, mate. Honestly. How do you put your toothpaste on your toothbrush? Fucking hell.
For you, isn't it? But I've been enjoying it. I must admit, it's entertaining stuff. But yeah, I think I'm going to predict a draw for that one. Maybe 2-2 again or something like that. I think there'll be goals in it. I hope Everton actually do quite well this year, because they're a big club that maybe deserve to do quite well. Obviously, they might finish above Tottenham actually this year, which could be good as well. The other game I really wanted to look at as well I think it's on Monday night, isn't it? Brighton against obviously Chelsea, who have basically bought every single player that's possible to buy by the look of it. What do we think about that one, Alex? I'm assuming it's going to away win, I would say.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will push Liverpool and City right to the end this season. I don't think Frank Lampard can afford not to. I don't think it's going to be any sort of sentiment involved with keeping it on for the sake of it. I think if he isn't around the top, say within 5 or 6 or 7 points by the end of the season, I think he could be sacked. So I think he has to be in the title challenge, and I'll go for Chelsea win, comfortable, like 3 or 4-1.
Yeah, that seems to be a fair reflection. What do you think about that one, Andrew? Similar?
Score draw, 1-1.
Really?
Yeah, I got no idea how the hell a manager like Lampard is going to keep that squad of players happy and get them organised and get them playing as a decent way of football. How on earth can he do that with all the players he's brought in? I mean, you can list off probably a dozen players who would get into any Premier League team that can play anywhere across the front of their pitch and in the number 10 role as well. And how the hell is he going to keep them all happy? How's he going to get them all to gel? And how's he going to get them to play some kind of free-flowing football? And do you know what? Their best in my opinion, their best defender, I know they brought in Thiago, who's 36 now. God knows how he's going to get on in the Premier League. He's going to get a reality check when he realises how quick the league is at his age. But I think their best young defender, is it Tomori? Tomori, isn't it? They're sending him on loan. I mean, what is wrong with them? They're desperate for defenders, and they're just going to stick with the ones that they've got and bring in a 36-year-old. And they're going to let their best young defender go on loan. So I don't. They can buy whoever they want, but they've still got Frank Lampard in charge, and I've got no. I just don't think he will last till probably Christmas. I think he will get sacked, and they're going to be in a massive problem because he's hit them. Can you imagine the pressure's going to be put on him now after all these signings that they're bringing in? They're going to expect prime Barcelona. Those the owners, the fans. And as soon as I bet you after the first game of the season, I don't think they'll win it. I bet you Brighton will hold them. And then if you go onto Twitter and search hashtag Lampard out, I bet you'll be trending. Straight away. I'm not even joking. The thing is that the players themselves that they're bringing in are clearly top quality. And I think... they will win games just because they are top quality, despite Frank Lampard being their manager on occasions. So they're not going to be horrendous because they've clearly got amazing players up front. But one of my favourite players outside of Arsenal is Christian Pulisic. I love that player. Is he going to get a game now, though? I don't think.
Their front line is going to be Pulisic, Werner, Ziyech, and Havertz, isn't it? I mean, that's as good as anything in the world.
It is, yeah, and they will win games on their own, because of the quality they've got. But at the end of the day, they've still got to be working to a plan that their coach sets them, and I don't think he's got the capabilities of doing that to work with players of that level. Even though he's got a great reputation himself as a footballer. It doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach. And he didn't actually have a good season when he was with Derby either. It's glossed up that he had this really good season with it. He didn't. They collapsed a lot at the end of that season. They could have. They were still in running for a automatic promotion at one point, and they should have got it potentially. But he did, and he didn't get through the playoffs. So I just cannot see him doing. No matter who they sign, I cannot see him doing really well with them, despite having one of the best squads in world football by the end of this transfer window. So yeah. I don't hold out too much hope for them because...
they'll play football, but will they raise themselves for some of them?
Exactly. It's going to take them time to gel, isn't it? Let's face it, because of everyone they've brought in. All these players that got rave reviews last year, like Mason Mount, great player, a great young player, but his role now has been taken over by Kai Havertz, who's going to take his position. Now, how's he going to feel? The bright young hope of English football just suddenly gone. And what's his name? The striker. God.
Tammy Abraham.
Yes, thank you. My brain tonight. Tammy Abraham, yeah. Is he going to get a game anymore now? And he started the season last year scoring, goal after goal after goal. And he was the new centre forward for England if anything happened to Harry Kane. And everyone was talking about him. He's not going to play anymore. How's he going to feel now? It's ridiculous. So there's not going to be harmony in that changing room. It's going to take them a while to settle. And it sounds strange, and it sounds like I'm being stupid when I say I think that Brighton might get a draw, because it quite conceivably, because of the players on their own, they could go. Chelsea could win 6-7-0. But I've got a feeling that Brighton might hold them to like a 1-1 something, because I just think that's the way it is at the moment with Chelsea. Just because they've brought all this world class talent in, it doesn't mean they're going to turn into prime Barcelona straight away. And I do honestly think that Lampard probably will be lucky to get through till Christmas.
I mean, obviously, I hope nothing but bad things on Chelsea generally. Anyway, so if what you say is true, then I won't have any complaints about that. I mean, Jonathan makes a point there as well about the spending the money like when Abramovich first came. Yeah, I mean that seems to be similar situation with Chelsea, doesn't it? I mean that's what they've always done.
But Ranieri, they had Ranieri then, and Ranieri, no matter what you think of him, is a very experienced, good manager. And Lampard ain't.
No, I agree. I mean, I think Lampard isn't a great coach at all. Certainly defensively, that's where Chelsea's problems are going to be. I mean, I think they're lucky in the sense that they're playing Brighton first game. I think Brighton are going to struggle this season. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up getting relegated, actually. I think their time in the Premier League might be... I like Graham Potter. I think he's done a good job there.
Yeah, I think they're going to improve this year, actually, Brighton.
At home, they're always a difficult team to play because of the fans and stuff. I think without the fans, this first game as well, I actually think Chelsea will win. I don't want them to. I just feel that they probably will, just because I just think they'll have too much quality for Brighton. And Brighton was struggling at the end of last season, wasn't they? Once they got safe, they dropped off quite a lot, didn't they, with their results? And I can't see them doing much. So I think Chelsea will probably win 2-0. But I'm hoping that that's not going to necessarily be the story of the season, because I do think they are going to struggle defensively.
Yeah,
score a lot of goals like they did last year. You can see
Derby, I think Brighton, though, I think they're going to slightly improve from last year, bit by bit. I'm not saying like a massive jump up the league, but I do really think that Potter's got what it takes to be actually a good Premier League manager. And they and again, I can't even remember the name of the player, but they've done really well in the market, because they've signed up Ben White for another contract, 4 years. Turning down up to like £30 million bids for him. He's a brilliant defender, brilliant young defender. I was really, really hoping Arsenal might make a move for him, but they've tied him down. And they've got this young defender from Ajax for 950 grand. I mean, it sounds like a 90s sort of transfer fee, doesn't it? Like for one of the top players, but under £1 million. And the reason they got him so cheap was he had a bad ACL injury, and for some reason, somehow, they've nicked him for like under £1 million. And I've read up on him, and this is only. I'm not saying I've seen him play or loads of other, but he's come through the Ajax Academy. He was playing in the Champions League from last year, and making his way back from this injury. And I've read article on him on The Athletic. He could be the signing of the season by the sounds of it. He's a really good quality player, can bring the ball out from defence as well. Good ball playing defender, great in the air, and they got him for less than £1 million. So, they've already got a good defence, Brighton, with Lewis Dunk there and so on. So I think they'll do better than you think. I'm not saying I expect them to jump up to like, a top 10, but I think they're going to do incremental improvements year on year. So I won't be surprised if they can shut out Chelsea the first game. But I could be completely wrong, but I've just got a good feeling they might hold Chelsea to 1-1 or something.
No, I hope you're right, because that would be great. I just feel as though they'll just have too much quality for Brighton, unfortunately, and I think they will win. I think Jonathan's in the chat just sort of basically saying the same as well, because it's going to be a nice sunny day. Their fancy players will fancy the game, which is fair enough. And Winston, just before that, had mentioned about them.
Oh, yeah. That's another stupid decision.
But then we did the same with William Saliba, didn't we, last year, I suppose?
Yeah, I know, but no, they are even worse. I mean, they let in 56 goals last season, and we thought we were bad. And they, seriously.
They need defenders. I mean, I don't know whether they felt he wasn't going to get game time, but like you said, they're sending out Tomori on loan as well.
Tomori's a good, looks like a real good prospect, honestly, and I cannot believe they're sending him out on loan as well, but...
Well, yeah. I mean, just before we sort of move away from the other teams, really. I mean, we sort of touched on it before. What are your predictions for the top four, and who do you think will be relegated? Alex, what's your top four? I know you sort of said pretty much before.
I think with Arsenal, I think we're going to sign another midfielder. So I do think we'll come fourth. I think it's going to be... I know what you're saying about Liverpool and how they ended the season badly, but I just think they were in cruise control and they were so far ahead. It would have been more surprising if they just kept that going, really. I think Liverpool are going to win the league. I think a number of managers have figured Guardiola's style out, and I think even when we played them, it even looked easy at times to sort of hit them on the break like that. I think the surprise could be that Chelsea finish above City. I think Chelsea second, City third, and I think Arsenal would be in fourth. And relegation, I agree. I think West Ham are going to go down. I think West Brom are going to go down. I think Aston Villa are going to go down as well. I think they were really lucky last season.
But we kept them up, didn't we, essentially?
Basically.
And then beating Watford, so yeah, maybe that's true. And what do you think then? What's your top four and who's going to get relegated?
I was just searching because I tweeted that, because you can do it on the BBC Sport website, and I tweeted it out the other day. I put all my...
Right.
I've got my predictions. Man City first, Liverpool second, Arsenal third, Man United fourth, Chelsea fifth, Leicester sixth, Tottenham seventh, Wolves eighth, Everton ninth, Southampton 10th. I think Southampton are going to do well this year.
Yeah, I think they'll do well, yeah.
Bottom, West Brom bottom, Fulham second bottom, Villa third bottom, Brighton fourth bottom, which slightly counteracts what I just said about Brighton, but I do think they're going to get better year on year. But I've got West Ham finishing 1, 2, 3, fifth from bottom. And also, that's the other thing, Sheffield United, sixth from bottom. Yeah, sixth from bottom. I think they're unfortunately going to have that second season syndrome where they're not going to do quite so well, unfortunately. But I would be surprised if their manager gets poached, shall we say, because we all know that some managers are going to get sacked early on in the season, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's top of the list of a lot of clubs.
Yeah, I think he will be. Yeah, definitely. I mean, for
West
me,
Ham, maybe.
I think the top four is going to be... I think Liverpool will win the league again just because I think Man City are in decline, and I just don't think that he's lost without his little mate that we've got now. So I think Liverpool will win the league again, and Man City will probably finish second. I think we can definitely finish third, and I think Chelsea will finish fourth. I just think that with the signings that they've got, and I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a particularly good manager, so I think they're going to miss out on the top four this year. I think relegation is going to be... I think Fulham will go down. I feel a bit sorry for them coming up and down every year, but I think they'll probably go straight back down again. I've got a feeling Brighton are going to struggle. I think they've been hanging on the last couple of years. I think this might be a bit like Bournemouth last year. I think this might be their time, unfortunately, because I quite like Brighton, but I think they might go down. And I think there could be a surprise maybe for the other one. I mean, people are saying West Ham. Yeah, I think West Ham have got trouble. I actually think Crystal Palace could strugle, as well. I
think they've made a couple of good signings, actually. That Ebe Eze, who I highlighted in one of my videos, he's going to do well, I think, actually. He's going to do really well.
Yeah, and I think obviously West Brom will struggle as well, but I'd say maybe Fulham, Brighton, and I'll go West Brom just because they're another yo-yo one, aren't they? I think they might be in the three to get relegated. But we'll see. I mean, if we get in the top four and have a good season, I'm not really bothered who gets relegated, if I'm honest.
No, I couldn't give a monkeys about the rest of them, to be perfectly honest. But
quite happy if Tottenham got relegated, wouldn't we? That would be quite nice.
That'd be hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But Leeds are going to surprise a lot of people.
I think Leeds will do well.
Whether you can call it a surprise now, because I think everyone knows about them, but I do genuinely think that they are going to be very, very hard to beat, and I'm not looking forward to playing them.
No, I agree. I think Leeds will do well. They certainly, like you said, they might do the Sheffield United type season and finish in the top half of the table, possibly.
I just hope that he doesn't do what's called a Fulham or a Villa now and go over the top with his signings, because they're playing so well, and I just hope he doesn't disrupt it too much, because I know they brought that Rodrigo in, who again is a forward who doesn't score goals, and but that's what he likes, isn't it? He doesn't want, like, Eddie Nketiah, who is a far superior finisher than what they had, but he's a funny guy, but you can't argue with the way he gets his teams playing, and I really, really, really hope I'm right, and that they beat Liverpool on the opening day, because what a story that'll be. And can you imagine the media outrage that Liverpool have been beaten on the opening day? And
there'll be a meltdown on Match of the Day. And
yeah, there will.
see, but we'll see what happens. I mean, that's good. I mean, just before we kind of wrap up, really, I just really want to know what you're all thinking about the fact that obviously with the latest news from the government yesterday, obviously the fans returning to the stadiums now looks as though it's almost certainly going to be delayed beyond October, possibly even beyond Christmas. I mean, what do we think about that? I mean, obviously it's not ideal, really. I mean, Alex, what do you make of that situation?
Well, I normally in recent years I get to a game about once a month, perhaps these days. I'm not sure how often you two go. Obviously, you miss that match day atmosphere and things like that. But I got to be honest, the generated noise and things like that on the TV, as well as every game being televised, I've not really noticed that much of a difference. In terms of the performances, but it is massive disappointment, isn't it, that the fans can't be there, especially at the start of the season. But I think I agree with you. I think if there's even a small percentage of a chance that it could increase the risk of the virus, I think the government will step in and delay the October kind of restart of fans coming in.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable now that that's going to happen after what was announced yesterday. I mean, what do you think about that, Andrew? About the fans not?
To me, it's a no-brainer for me. Don't let any fans in until we can all go back in. It's just ridiculous to have 25% capacity. It's just a joke. And the obvious thing to do is for every club in England, Wales, Scotland, around Europe, is to sell a season ticket for fans to watch all their games online. Set it at what? I don't know. I wouldn't even mind, because obviously, let's face it, we all know it's accessible for free on the internet. Obviously, I don't do it, clearly. But, would every fan mind paying a £5 per match, maybe even a £10 per match, to watch it in high definition, with at home, and that the money that you're spending on that is going directly to your club?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we all know, we're not stupid. We're all sitting here crying out for the club to go and buy Partey and Aouar another 100 million quid before the end of the season. Where do we fully expect all this money to come from? The clubs I'm worried sick about all the EFL clubs, the amount of them that could go out of business. They're starting their season Saturday, and they've got no crowd coming in, and all the League One, League Two clubs, which are the bread and butter of the football in this country, who have been around for 100 years, are just not going to be able to survive, because they make their money from people walking through the gates, buying their programmes, buying a hot dog and buying a drink, and they're not going to have any of it.
These are the clubs that would benefit massively from having a TV stream.
Exactly.
They charge their fans to watch them on the telly.
Exactly.
Benefit from that. It would almost replace a certain amount of their match day revenue, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be
That's what I mean. They'll probably make, in some circumstances, they can make even more than they normally do, because every club in League One, League Two, that they've got fans across the world. Yeah, not to the same limits as the Premier League clubs, but they have. Expats live all over the place, and they never go to these games because they can't, because they live abroad. Can you imagine if they had the opportunity of watching every single Forest Green Rovers match, after Hector Bellerin brought into them now, which is a great story, by the way. But can you imagine if they had the opportunity of watching every single one of their matches in full HD, perfect stream from anywhere in the world? And they would, of course, they would pay a £5 or a £10 to watch it. So why don't they do that? And it keeps the clubs ticking over, and they could sell at the same time whilst they watch, a Leyton Orient. You're streaming a Leyton Orient match, and on the same page you've got all the drop down boxes where you can buy the kit, you can do all this, you can actually add, buy some merch whilst you're doing it at the same time as well. Why the hell hasn't that not even been properly discussed as an option to keep these clubs in business?
because the TV companies are too worried about losing their own
Fuck
revenue.
them. You know, it's got to go now, isn't it? It's got to go. You know, we've got to do things different way in the 20. It's 2020. We've got all this technology available to us. We don't need Sky and BT anymore. You know, because if each individual club can support, you know, say for example, Arsenal could do it as a season ticket, that you could do it online, and the money goes directly to Arsenal. You know, there could also be a little way where perhaps even just a slight percentage of the fee, say, you know, even 5% or something, goes into a pot to help all the other clubs in the lower leagues as well, to keep, you know, just in case anything, God forbid, happens again in the future as well. Something along those lines. That's an easy thing to sort out. But for God's sake, why can't we just do that? And I don't want to have 25% of a capacity in this ground the size of the Emirates. It's just pointless. Either we all go or we don't. You know, and the fact that we should be grateful that all the games are being streamed in September is absolute nonsense. You know, of course they should be. But I don't think any fan worth their salt would bulk at paying a £5 or a £10 to watch the team and knowing that you're going to help keep the club going. You know, it's just obvious.
Totally agree. I mean, I do miss going to the games, I've got to be honest. You know, the whole atmosphere of it all. And it's a shame that it looks like that's going to be. Well, I agree with you. I can't see the point of putting 25% capacity in a ground for a Premier League game. I mean, you saw that friendly that Brighton did, funny enough, against Chelsea, wasn't it, a couple of weeks ago? And it's just mad. We're looking at it, really. And it's like, I agree with you, either all or nothing should be the way. And if we can't get them all in, let's keep it as it is, but let's stream the games on the club websites. Every single game in the Football League as well is filmed, every single game, because it has to be for the league rules. So they've got the footage there. They're showing that they're filming the game live. Just show it. You don't need commentary. You don't need co-commentary, all that nonsense. Just show the game, stream it on a club website, charge fans for it to watch. Like you said, they'd all pay. The club get the money. Everybody can watch the games, and it's happy days. And I don't see why we can't do that, other than the fact that the TV companies don't like it, do they? That's the reason.
Well, it would stop piracy there and then.
Of course it would. At the end of the day, if you're going to give money to your own club and you know your own club's getting the money, then, you know, you're going to be quite happy to pay it, aren't you? Because you're getting full coverage of your club.
Exactly.
Every single game. And, you know, the danger is that when they open the stadiums up again, people think, actually, I quite like sitting at home in the warm, watching the game for a £5 or a £10. And then people might not want to go back to the stadiums and pay.
People probably... I mean, I probably get to... Alex mentioned about how often he goes nowadays. Alex... I've been supporting Arsenal for, like I said, since 1980. I've had throughout the 90s. I was a season ticket holder at Highbury. Blah blah blah. For reasons I ain't going to go into now. I lived out the country for a few years. I gave up my season ticket when I came back. My life had changed completely, and I don't live in London anymore, and I live in the Midlands. And now I've got three kids. I'm not financially well off at all, and to take my kids to an Arsenal match now, I don't get any change out of £400, you know, and I can't physically afford. I'd love to go to every single game because I am Arsenal are in my blood, you know, and this is why it annoys me when people go on and on about the international fans, you know, in America and Australia. They don't matter. You don't understand what it's like. You don't go every week. Does that mean me as well then? Because I don't go. I'm not able to go every week.
Yeah.
I mean, just no one takes into account people's situations. But I would happily pay for a season ticket to online, and of course all the fans would, and I think they'd make more money overall than they do from Sky, because it opens it up across the world.
I don't know why that isn't a thing yet. You like you said, I mean, from a financial point of view, it would blow the Sky money out of the water, I think.
Of course it would.
Even if you charge like £300 for the full season ticket for every game, I think for Sky, Amazon and BT, it's over £1,000 a year for, you know, and that's not for every game that you want to watch. Exactly. I very rarely watch any other games other than Arsenal. So, you know, to have a full Sky TV package is pointless to me. I don't watch much other sports, so I don't know why they don't do it. They haven't done it even before all this virus, you know, complications. Yeah. I think this will be a perfect opportunity for them to discuss with Sky and things like that, who could possibly partner into it, you know, offer individual club channels which show these events. And they could have, like you said, like a little percentage of that goes to Sky or wherever.
Well, an even better thing, don't leave Sky, BT, Amazon, leave them out of it. And Premier League has a Netflix type app themselves. Yeah. And what you could do then to support all of football in this country, you could just offer one of your subscribers purely the season ticket for your team, no matter what league you're in. But you could also go up in packages and say, right, I want a Premier League season ticket, so I could watch any of the matches at any time, and then you pay that amount. And then if you want one that covers all 4 professional divisions, you pay that amount. And it would work across the board. You know, and if you're a Leyton Orient fan, you could just have one for Leyton Orient, or you could have one for the whole division. In fact, it would probably be better in that situation that you just have one for the whole division, because it supports all the clubs as far as that's concerned then as well. So they would. I mean, those leagues only get 1 million a season. I think it's £1 million a season for the whole clubs to share.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
They would smash that. They would smash it.
Yeah, they would. Yeah. It makes. I mean, as Jonathan said, they're doing it in Scotland, so it makes too much sense. So it won't happen. That's about the only thing I think we should copy Scotland on, actually.
Well, I think we should start a petition. Get 100,000. I think you get that overnight. Signatures on something like that, and then they'd have to debate it in the House of Commons. So you need to shout loud in this to get your voice heard, and it never makes more sense than ever now to just wipe the slate clean, start again, and save football in this country. We can't just think about Arsenal, because across the years, how many players have we bought from the little clubs, down the leagues, It just makes so much sense that it just needs saving.
We got Rob Holding from Bolton, didn't we? And Bolton are one of the teams that's in massive trouble, aren't they? So it just goes to show, that just proves the point, really, how important those technically smaller clubs are.
Yeah, exactly.
To everybody, they support everybody, don't they? They give us players, and we buy players from them and stuff like that. And it's so important. And obviously, they've got fans that have been fans of their clubs for years and years and years. It's their whole life, isn't it? And their whole life now could be, if people's lives hasn't been disrupted enough. If you lose your football club, that's been your life forever. Imagine how devastating.
Look at Wigan. I'm devastated for Wigan. Like 7 years ago, they won the FA Cup, and they were really a really, really well-run club. Now they had a 15-year-old kid who everyone knew about already. Even clubs in Bundesliga again, they were already looking for him, and they've had loads of good quality players coming through their academy, and fucking those white team, down the road that won't be named, they ended up getting that 15-year-old kid, for virtually nothing, off Wigan, and Wigan could have made a fortune out of it, but because they're stupid. Oh, God, we all know the story anyway. They've lost nearly all their squad, and they were the most informed team in the Championship last year, and they're down in League One now, and they're virtually in the threat of going out of business through no fault of their own whatsoever.
Nobody really cares, do they? That's the problem.
Well, shouldn't we? We should.
We should, of course we should.
I'm a football fan, and I would go and see any football match if the chance arose, and I really think we should protect these clubs. So we need to do our bit. We need to do our bit and help. So I really think we should really put pressure on to do something like this. We're all worrying about paying Sky back because they didn't get their product that they paid for last year. I mean, whose fault's that?
Yeah.
Sky
losing money. I've got no sympathy for them at all.
Oh my God! It just makes your heart bleed, doesn't it? It makes your heart bleed.
No, but unfortunately, all the clubs now, like you said, are having to pay the money back. So he's putting pressure on the clubs.
It's just stupid. We finished we put all the players, all the medical staff, all the rest of the club staff in danger to finish the league last season just because of Sky.
Yeah.
You know, we did it. And we did it really, really well. And we still got to pay them money back. So, why the hell? It don't just end all that stuff. And the Premier League could do it themselves using a Netflix type, format, and it'll be easy. And you could, like I said, at different stages. I mean, they would all be cheaper than an Arsenal season ticket even if you wanted to watch every single game from all 4 leagues, you know, throughout the season. And you know, you could charge £500 for the full package, for example. You know, and watch all 4 divisions if you wanted to, or just pay out, you know, £100 just for the Arsenal one or whatever. But you imagine Arsenal, amount of millions of fans Arsenal have got around the world, who wouldn't pay that? You know, and they would make a fortune.
Yeah.
So it makes so much sense.
It would make sense, but unfortunately, as Jonathan said, it makes too much sense. So that's why it probably won't happen unless there's massive amount of pressure put on Sky, put on the Premier League, and put on because they're the ones ultimately who can decide it because they're in control, aren't they? And we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that the smaller clubs need to be supported as much as anything because they're the ones who can't survive this. The Premier League clubs will probably be able to survive most of them, you would imagine, no matter what happens. Winston's just put a little message on there. Tweet or DM the Premier League. Yeah, that's good.
Well, what we need to do, if we clip this end bit where we're talking about this, make it into its own little video, and we need to all just keep retweeting it and retweeting it and retweeting it and try and get it out to everyone, but all the BBC, everyone, and you know all the people that are linked to it, and try and get people talking about it. Get a petition going to say this needs sorting out now. It would solve the problems virtually overnight, and it wouldn't take a day or two to set up the software to actually do that. Sort of a Netflix type. All the technology is there already. You know, so they need every single ground, like you said earlier, Richard. They've all got the cameras already set up. Everything's already in place for it to be done overnight, near enough. So, you know, it just need to do it because we're just being ripped off left, right, and centre, and we're being held to ransom by Sky for no reason at all. It's not necessary. Sky aren't needed anymore.
It was top of the ridiculous kickoff times that, you know, 8 o'clock on a Monday night, you know, away at Sheffield United. And I know with fans not going, that's probably not so important, I guess, at this point. But
no, that's something we haven't even discussed. That wouldn't have to happen anymore. You know, it's just, you know, and I think that rule of not televising matches at 3 o'clock on a Saturday was from back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You know, it's not relevant anymore because it just doesn't make sense because it doesn't stop people from going to football. At the moment, no one's got the choice of going to football. So. I don't know. We can go on. I can literally go on about this for hours, but I know we've been going on for ages anyway. But yeah, we honestly,
it's an issue, and you know, I think with the season about to start and the situation being as it is, with fans obviously not being able to go to the games now for indefinitely, probably. I know that they're still going to try to get some. Doing some trial games in Scotland, aren't they? I think at the weekend still. They're still going ahead with them. But realistically, I don't think it's going to be popular. So it's a good time to debate this subject, really. It's a good time for something to be put forward to try to make it change because I don't think it can be sustained as it was at the end of last season. If it's going to be this whole season of no fans and the games having to be shown and Sky having to be involved to the extent that they are, then we need to find a way of stopping that, letting the clubs take control of it themselves. And that's going to be the way forward because that's going to save a lot of these financial issues that clubs have. It's going to help, isn't it? Certainly. It's not going to solve them all. Let's be clear. But it's going to certainly help to solve a lot of the problems, certainly for the small clubs. And
I think he said it's not going to solve all the problems. Like I said, I'm going to go over it. I think that the League One and League Two clubs especially will be better off. They'll be better off than they are at the moment with the Sky deal. Or the whatever deals that they've got to televise their games, they get next to nothing. They get peanuts. But if you did something like that, where you could actually get a season ticket to include the whole league, and it got spread out worldwide, then they would be better off than they are now. And I'm sure Arsenal would be, and I'm sure Man United and Liverpool and Man City would be as well.
The only problem is probably the contract that's still running with Sky and with BT and with the others, isn't it? That's a problem as well, probably at the moment. But
apparently, according to Sky, contracts don't mean nothing because we still finished the league, but they still want 30% of the money back. So exactly. What was that contract like? So it's all right if it works in their favour, mate. It's all right if it works in their favour.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would probably be an issue as well. But anyway, but on about this forever, and maybe it might be worth perhaps doing a show about it just on this one day. Once we know exactly what the situation is in terms of fans going back to the grounds and stuff like that. But I think we'll wrap it up now for tonight anyway, because we've been going sort of over 2 hours. It's been great. I've been really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have as well. I mean,
definitely.
Thanks for coming on. Obviously, James as well, who's obviously had to shoot off a little while ago. Alex, if we just go to you, just tell everyone again where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can catch me on YouTube or For the Arsenal, as is there, and on social media on Twitter is For the Arsenal _. Cheers for having me on. It's been a really good laugh on you tonight.
Yeah, good. Everyone, I say it's a great channel as well that Alex does. So if you haven't watched it yet, please have a look over there as well, because he does some great stuff. So it's worth getting involved in. Obviously, subscribe to his channel as well. And Andrew as well. Again, just remind people where they can catch up with you.
Yeah, I second what you just said, Rich, as well. Alex, you did an incredible job on your channel. It's you done a really professional job. It's a great show that you do, and same with you, Rich. So don't worry about my channel. Yes, my channel's all shit compared to your two's, but it's from Dial Square to Where on YouTube. No, seriously, I think we do some good stuff on there as well. It's all common sense. Same as you two guys. I think that if we get some subscribers between us, I'm always happy. From day one, I've always been happy to cross-pollinate, shall we say, with the Arsenal community. I think there's enough room for all the Arsenal channels out there, and I think that if everyone else had the same attitude, the world would be a better place.
100%.
And again, I just want to say, Andrew's channel was great as well. So if you haven't watched that at all, go over there and have a look at that, because there's some great stuff on there as well. So, any channel that covers Arsenal to me is a good thing. There's a lot of negativity around, but, some people enjoy that, which is fine. I'm going to try and keep my channel positive, and I know you guys like to be positive. I mean, Andrew,
definitely.
We're going to finish second or third. I think we're going to finish sort of third as well. Alex thinks we're going to be top 4. So between us, we are pretty optimistic and pretty positive, which is good. Let's hope that we're still feeling like this at Christmas time and going into the new year. And let's hope it hasn't all gone wrong for us. I'm sure it won't.
Very much so. And can I just say one thing as well? Thank you for everyone on Twitter who has sent me really, really kind, really quite heartwarming, moving messages lately, supporting me through my troubles. And hopefully I'll be back doing my own show soon as well. But thank you ever so much for everyone for your support. It means the actual world to me at the moment. Thank you.
And it's good to have you back on the channel again and back on the podcast talking about Arsenal, which is obviously what's important as well, isn't it, to get you back on?
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. It's really given me a bit of a boost, doing it a good time.
Good. And hopefully Saturday will give you a bit of a boost as well when we win.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what I did? Long story, but I've actually booked a stadium tour for Saturday to take me and my boys down there. Because I had an email come through saying children go free at the moment, which is a really good deal. So all 4 of us are going for 25 quid. And I forgot that we had the early kickoff on Saturday, so I booked it for 1 o'clock. So I'm going to have to watch a rerun of the match and try and not hear the score. But I think that's be difficult considering I'm actually going to be inside the Emirates at the time. So
time for TV, the only reason they did no need to play at 12:30, is there?
No, exactly. So I'm not going to be able to see it live, which is a shame. However, I've never done the stadium tour before, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
That'll be good. I'm sure you enjoy that.
Yeah.
So you can get a picture of the FA Cups at the moment as well, I believe. So
exactly. Yeah, it'd be good. But thank you. Thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
No, thanks for yourself, and obviously Alex as well. And I say James, who was on earlier. Thanks for all the comments in the chat as well. Jonathan, if there's nice comments there as well. He says maybe talking about a title challenge next year. I mean, I'm talking about one now, actually. So,
well, he could be talking about from January onwards. That's next year, technically. So
until we've lost two or three games, I'm going to keep talking about a title challenge. That's just because we want to be positive on it.
They can sign Lionel Messi on a pre-contract in January as well. So.
Oh, there you go. That's sorted. Good. We've got that sorted. So, yeah, say thanks to everyone in the chat as well. Thanks to everyone for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do, because I'm there 100. I don't know if it's gone up while this has been on there. I'll check afterwards. But I was only about 5 away, I think. So hopefully I can get there before the weekend anyway. I'll be doing some live stuff for the game, for match reports and stuff like that as well. So obviously check out that. Check out these guys' channels as well. And as well, James as well. Follow James on Twitter because he does some great interviews as well. They are really worth checking out as well. So thanks to everyone for tonight. Thanks for all my guests. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you're watching it back later as well, I hope you enjoy it. Give it a thumbs up and of course subscribe to the channel. And I'll speak to you all guys again over the weekend. And hopefully we've got a good result on Saturday. And in the meantime, of course, I always end the same way, so I'm not going to be any different today. Come on, you Gunners! See you all,
Gunners. Take care.
Arteta, in his first season, becomes the first player to not only captain, but now manage Arsenal to an FA Cup victory.
I want to tell you what I talk to the lads about every day. What it means to be part of our family.
You listening, bro? Yeah, man. You listening?
A strong family.
That's mine.
First, there is the non-negotiables. Respect, humility, belief. And it's okay to get angry, to raise our voices, as long as it comes from the right place. And even though family can hurt us like nobody else, remember, they are the ones who raise us up. When people come to our house, try to divide us because they know our family and what our shirt means.
With us for life, with us for life.
Let them know we can't be divided.
Aubameyang, best striker in the league, come on, come on.
And it will take all of us together, because we know where we belong. So when the challenges come, you will tell them,
this is family.
This is family.
This is family.
This is family.
this is Arsenal.